Hello, everybody. Welcome to this is Chip Off the Block. We're going to be doing something a little bit different because I feel like I'm always doing something a little bit different. But we're gonna do a map making stream because I was just like, screw it, because scheduling things, and I was just like, why the hell not? So, hello to everybody watching. I appreciate you. I got I got a custom setup for this one. This is a fancy overlay I made in 3 minutes. So this isn't even an overlay, but good good morning, Artemis. Nice to see you. What time is it for you? 6 hours ahead. That's 2 a.m. for you. Is it 2 a.m. for you? My math checks out. But we're just gonna be doing a map making stream. We're actually not. I'm not sure. Bet you thought I wouldn't be here. I hope I'm not keeping you up. uh, I'm not really sure what we're gonna be making for a map yet. We were talking about like a regional map, a place that talking about a place that I've been working on. So I'm not sure yet. I'll just sort of like talk to the chat, see what they think about it. Talk to you guys. But like I said, as long as I'm not keeping you up, I don't want to keep you up. What? I've been hiding mine in a ponytail with a hat. Yeah, I just decided to wear it down today. Hold up, yeah, that hair. Yeah, yeah, just in case you were wondering if I weren't Irish. I mean, yeah, I got a lot of red hair. Um, but yeah, folks, thanks for being here. Uh, map. True. I don't have a lo-fi girl. No, nobody could have the energy on that program that I have. So luscious locks. I take good care of them too. It just obviously it's getting a little long, so it's weighing down on my scalp. But Omni, you have no sound. Say something, Omni. Son of a bitch. Should be good now.
All right, how's it looking?
All right,
Got
we're good.
sound?
Yep.
Cool. I'm gonna say what I said before. Surprise, guys! We both have luscious locks under here.
Who skipped sound check? Not me. It couldn't be me. Just probably just God interfering. You know how it is.
Where Omni?
Where Omni?
Everyone's just coming up on it.
Where Omni go? But
He's been so quiet.
that's unusual. He's quiet.
He's not talking everyone's ear off and completely dominating conversations.
So, sorry, I've been doing a lot of accents lately, so I'm probably gonna accidentally slip into an accent here and there. But so like I said, we're trying to decide what we want to do here. I think we should do something derivative of obviously the streams that we've been doing, because recap, we made an entire nation in the last episode with Cassie and M. Allen Hall, both wonderful guests that had a lot to say.
They were fantastic.
Mega delayed because I'm on the opposite side of the planet. You're on the cooler side of the planet, though. Shut up, Grubhub. Damn, I'm in the middle of a stream. Have some courtesy. Let's see here. Had some bomb ass Philly cheesesteak.
He was the last one. No, there's no It's
the last of his species.
Last of his house. Also, folks, I'm gonna apologize to everyone in advance. Just letting you all know, if I seem a little hyper today, it's because I am currently going on 3 hours of sleep and activity for at least 12 hours today. I've been up since 6 a.m. It is currently 9:15. I will probably be up till midnight on 3 hours of sleep. And to get there, I am eating Eggos soaked in syrup, and I am drinking a arcane mixture of hand-mixed pink lemonade with orange juice. This will have me seeing in colors man was not meant to see by the end of the evening. So if I seem a little hyper, that's why. My entire physiology is propped up with sugar right now.
I appreciate you. I'm drinking water. So
I got that too, because otherwise my blood sugar is gonna put me in a coma.
why'd
I
you only
couldn't
get
fall
3 hours?
asleep. I couldn't fall asleep. I was super excited.
The
So
the anticipation. Yeah, that's
yeah, I actually went with no, like Bardo doesn't know. I went with a couple of friends today to MGM, who are here from the UK. This is like one of the last times we're gonna get to hang out, probably for a while now.
mm.
And Bardo is one of them, along with Smudge. Wonderful person, know them both, love them both. I was so excited, I literally just couldn't stay in bed till 3 a.m. And I woke up at 6:30, and I was like, well, time to die over the course of 24 hours. So there you go.
Mid.
Midnight rookie numbers.
Oh,
Yeah.
oh, Artemis, you should know my sleep schedule. There is a reason I don't message you until like 11 your time. Whoo, I slept till 5 today. God damn.
You know,
uh,
I mean, if you can do it. All
if I
right,
can do it,
so.
I'll get away with it. Oh yeah, school fucking killed me. So
Oh, man.
living in the lap of love. That's absolutely adorable. Don't you fucking say adorable. I stay up to like 7 or 8 a.m. on average. I'm kind of nocturnal, honestly. But that's fine.
All
Everything's
right, so
fine.
we got the writer's block up.
Wee wee. Sorry, I'm playing around with the I'm rolling the mouse wheel.
Are you sure you're not the one who's sleep deprived?
I'm not sleep deprived. I just have too much sleep sometimes. Um
I'd rather that. I'd rather that. So
so
okay, we got our city.
yeah.
So do you want to do the city from last session then? Like,
We could do the city from last session. I don't know if
or
that
we could
would.
do just like a generic one.
We could do a generic one. I honestly like the one enough for last session to sort of do it, but I don't think there's any sort of. So we had a lot of like Oriental Asian vibes, but we didn't like. I don't think there's anything on this program that is like that. Sadly, I'd have to make custom assets, which I don't mind doing. I've done that before, but
Right. I mean, in fairness, like the actual structures themselves weren't particularly like it's just abstraction where it was like that. Practically speaking, it sounds like what we were talking about largely was just like um really it was just walls and water, and I don't even think we discussed like the way that the place is structured, like physically structured. We talked a lot in abstract last session
it's I just
with stilt people.
what we've made it. Yeah, just like a lot of wetlands is what I imagine. Like
Mm.
I imagine like Vietnam and like Korea, very
We did talk a lot
forested,
about
very
rice
wet.
paddies,
We
or
did.
like not rice paddies, but the crops. Do we want to find a name for that, by the way, or do we just want to call it the crop?
I think we called them stilt trees. I think that's what
You're
we.
right. Yeah, I think it's stilt trees with stilt fruit was what it was.
Yeah. I think that's what we came
Yeah.
to. I think that's what we came to agree upon.
And
Um,
also, Ty, I gotta say, Rise of the Resistance was incredible. Is it worth a 2.5 hour wait? No. But
there you go.
we did it for the first time because I've been an annual pass holder for years, and I just today wrote it for the first time. So write it once and wait for it to not be 2.5 hours long. Anyway, build a one-to-one recreation of Universal Studios. Let's not. Hello, chat. Nice. I read that for some reason in Ed and Eddie voice. I don't
Hello,
know why.
chat.
Hello, chat.
But see, the thing is, how big is this nation gonna be? So like that'll definitely determine like what the scale of things are gonna be with this map. It was like a 20-minute experience. That sounds lame.
You know,
uh,
honestly, like considering that most rides are like only 5 minutes long, but like it was. If you've ever been on Star Tours, imagine Star Tours, but 20 minutes long and more immersive than you've ever imagined. It was actually pretty sick.
I'd rather just
I
stay at
definitely
home and
recommend it for.
roleplay.
I mean, that's fair, but I will say there's nothing quite as impressive as actually getting on a starship and having it take off, and then somehow leaving through the same door you came in, and it's somewhere totally different, and you have no idea how they pulled that shit off. Wizardry. That's all I'm gonna say. No spoilers beyond that. Like, just whoever designed that, Imagineers on crack for that one. That was nuts.
I'm gonna I'm gonna do a poll. So what map are we making?
I think that's smart.
What was the name of the
I don't. Did we ever name it? Oh wait, no, we
We
did. It's
did.
Oregon Chai.
Orgonchai.
Oregon Chai.
Orgonchai.
Gunchai.
Welcome to Orgonchai.
And they are the Oregon people. Stalkers are what they're called by other nations.
That's mean. Anyway. What the fuck's the name of the we're starting off strong. I'm saying the F word in the first 20 minutes.
Ty. I already got my thermal detonator.
What's the name of the nation that Derek and I have been working on?
I don't
Tethestris?
know. I think that sounds right. Yeah.
Tethestris, I think that's it.
Yeah, because I think it's Tethastris or yeah, I think it's Tethastris.
Somebody in the chat came up with the name and I liked it a lot and I kept it.
Because yeah, right now we only really have like 4 places in the whole setting that are like somewhat fleshed out, and they're not even like hardened in any way. They're just good. I think Tethastris is the closest thing. We have like a super hard part of the whole setting. We have Tethastris, which is the one you and Derek have been working on World Breakers. I've been working on Glaswall, another city state, in my own time, and I'm actually thinking about doing like a. Here's the thought: like, do you think it'd be a cool idea, like you and chat? You think it'd be a cool idea for me to do like a YouTube like creation diary on there, like a little mini YouTube series on building Glaswall?
That'd be cool. That'd be good to dip your toes back into streaming and like doing videos and stuff like that as well.
Yeah, just sort of feeling that. So, but anyway, so Tethestris, Glaswall, and then we have this place, Orgunchai, and then finally we have that weird tripartite city state with the train people, and like that's
Train
it.
people.
Yeah, like I can't remember what it's called. The
Pulls up, folks, by the way. Orgunchai, Asian style, and Tethestris, I described it as icy Spain. Uh,
yeah, that's pretty accurate. Actually.
they're hyper religious, and to the point where they'll literally kill their own people to do it. So yeah, icy Spain.
Yeah, Tethastris. It's Tethastris.
Tethestris. I think I spelled that correctly. I wrote an entire short story about it. I hope I spelled it correctly.
It's fine. We're fine.
Oh, so while I'm waiting for the poll, folks, I guess people really like icy Spain.
The Search. That's what they were called.
The
Sorry,
Search.
that was gonna bug me.
Oh yeah, the Search. That sounds like a prog rock '90s band. Anyway, so I think it is actually. So, my on a personal note, because I don't really talk about myself a lot on this show beyond like just doing the show. My book is like really close to being finished. I need to rewrite the epilogue, which is fine because like that's probably gonna be like 2 pages. I don't want a long epilogue. I want to leave a lot left to keep people wondering. But what do you know about the 90s, Red? Look, okay, I know I was born in '01. Give me a break. But that doesn't mean the years before then didn't happen. I was born before 9/11, so I am allowed to talk about the 90s. So anyway, that's but what was I saying?
you didn't miss too much. That's a lot. You missed a crap ton, but whether it was worth missing or not that's another debate.
The book. Yeah. So
Yes,
I don't know what to do with publishing. I don't know if I just want to self-publish and throw it up on Amazon, or I want to like hire somebody to help me publish it. I don't know if Gemma would be up for doing that or not. I don't know if she would publish an actual novel, but
I would reach out to her. I wouldn't be surprised if D3 was interested. Honestly,
I was born in
but
2001. Art, yes.
yep.
Yep, February 18th. I'm just doxing myself, I guess. I'll put my social security up next.
And for the record, to clarify, I'm saying I'm the 33-year-old, and obviously he's the 20. I'm clearly the sugar is not helping my addiction on
KDP to self pub.
Yeah, I will say don't use the Amazon thing.
Isn't KDP Amazon's though?
From what I've heard, the issue is that like the self-publishing isn't. It's not bad.
Kindle Direct Publishing.
Yeah, there you go. the biggest issue I've heard is that it does have some issues with rights and ownership of your work, but ain't that all publishing? So
Yeah.
just do your research before you do it. But self-publishing isn't a bad idea. If Gem is interested, like why not, right? Like see what D3's interested in.
Oh, sure. Yeah, no, I'll look into it. It just like that's the most funnily enough. I was just like, oh man, there's it's just when writing a book, folks. I can't wait for November because I'm gonna write a book with you on stream. But that's something I'll hold myself to. That's a challenge I want to do. But let me tell you something. When it comes to writing a book, one thing is daunting after the other. It's writing the initial 50,000, it's editing the 50,000, and now it's publishing it and hoping it
Yeah,
doesn't flop. So like, but it's my first book, so it's like I'm not expecting it to do incredibly well or incredibly bad. It's just, you know, I want it to succeed because I put a lot of love and effort into it. But looks like Icy Spain won, so I guess we're doing Icy Spain.
yeah. It's a 100% vote on that. That's pretty definitive.
Definitive Icy Spain. Uh, so when I think of Icy Spain, I'm trying to think of this place as like landlocked to a certain extent. I imagine there
Like
being
a
like this massive sort of tract of land. So let me just paint that in real quick. If somebody in the chat mansplains me or anything about how I'm making maps, I will garrote you. Sorry, I'm not supposed to threaten people on stream. I might get taken down. Let's
I'll throw a thermal detonator through the screen at you.
it can be really hard to regulate comments on Amazon too. So yeah, that's something I'd worry about. Ingram Spark. I'll keep. Damn it! I wish I had a cocktail napkin. Uh, Ingram Spark. I'll keep that one in mind. Yeah. Hey guys, Redemption VA is live. You should check them out. Let's. Sorry. A bit of a spaz tonight. Oh shit! We got UK viewers. I shouldn't be saying spaz. That's a really bad word over there.
Yeah,
Let's see. Also, spaz over here does not mean anywhere near what it means over there. Wasn't I
yeah.
supposed to trouble you for an emote, or am I suffering from tired?
It's Alan Hall here. Just talk to me later. Gotcha.
Oh, got you, man. Sorry, I didn't even realize that was you. I was just like, I saw Hall. I'm just like, I feel like I recognize that person. No, I got you. I'll message you about it. You would know significantly better than I would. Um, let's see. So, I don't know if I imagine this place having like a port. I kind of imagine it just being surrounded, like Mexico City, sort of being like surrounded by mountains, like in a
I
valley.
mean, the bulk of human habitation is landlocked. Like like our biggest cities are often ports for a reason, but also for the same exact reasons. While cities tend to dot the waterline, they also can be preyed upon until they're either consumed by other bigger cities or cease to exist over historical time. And that's why most cities just kind of end up being inland and going, whatever, fine. You either make the materials to sell or you ship the materials to.
Easy peasy. Oh, hello, Naris. Welcome in.
Neris, hey,
Let's
hope you're feeling okay.
see here. So we'll do random stamps. Folks, I'll show you. I'll sort of like highlight my creative process when it comes to making maps in this regard. Uh, the biggest thing is with mountains, you want to have a build up because most mountains just don't like come out of nowhere. They're not just some big wall like Fort Squidward. God, that's a really weird reference. But uh,
I
they
got it immediately, so you should.
well, they don't just sort of come out of nowhere, right? There's like a lead up to them. So the way I do that is I sort of stagger them in a zigzag sort of line, and it honestly works very well. You sort of fill in the spaces, and then I work up to the medium mountains, and then blah 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 get bigger and bigger. Uh,
Right.
it's
Well, yeah, because the whole idea of a mountain range is literally two continents smack together, and they either go down, and that's how you get like larger, like that's where you get fault lines, and the other way, or like the really like super obvious fault lines, and then the other time they just sort of push up in the mountains, and that's how it be. So yeah, it makes sense. That's why they always come in lines.
feeling pretty. Feeling pretty okay at the moment. I just went cross-eyed. I thought it said feeling pretty dang okay. I'm like, that's pretty aggressive. Jeez. Glad you're doing all
Pretty
right.
dang okay.
But see, like the way I have these maps or these mountains set up, like you see how they are. They sort of just ramp into one another, and That's my
Right.
miniature creative process for you guys when it comes to mountains. I mean, I'm no artist, but I have been making maps on Incarnate for
Shut
a wee
up.
bit.
Shut up.
ah,
You're not allowed to say
ah.
that anymore. You're not allowed to say that
But I
anymore.
can. It's my
I don't
show. I can do
know.
what I want.
Nope, nope. I will drag you on your show in front of everyone every time you say that. Don't you say you're not an artist. I will come through here with the power of my sugar cocktail to murder you on that end of the screen
Oh no!
for short selling yourself.
Don't use your sugar cock against me. Anything but the. I genuinely thought
Now
that's
I
what you were gonna
know you're
say.
the sleep deprived one.
Can you not see the bags under my eyes? Maybe not.
I can't. Now with the 720 on my camera.
This is a map I made for, I believe it
Ooh.
was Nathan, a reckless attack. I think. No. This
Oh,
was
it's nice.
this was Mark from the Lugon project. Slap red for me. I'm self-critical, okay. This was for Mark from the Lugon project. This was one of his continents named Viast, and I
Can I get
mean,
an S for slapping red in the comments, please?
S for slap. Uh, I mean, I like making maps. I've made a little bit of scratch off of making maps. I can't show you guys a lot of these actually, technically speaking, because contractual work. But if you guys want links to like any of these maps, I mean, I do not mind giving them up, like for sure. I'll give this one up because this is one that I've had for a while, and I posted it on Twitter when I was small, and I'm sure nobody saw it. But this is my my miniature haunted house map. So I will post that one. I'll let you folks have that.
Ooh, that
K-
is nice.
Kick his shin. You are an artist. This is a little too heavy on the contrast, but that's fine. Nobody cares. Um, I'll post that one on Twitter later. Just gotta remind me. But yeah, like the way mountains work, you know, they just sort of. We'll probably have these mountains specifically sort of like loop up and around. I think. I try to use different
Fair.
stamps to sort of differentiate sizes and um, that sort of thing. So this is I don't know how entertaining this is. Listen to me explain how I make mountains,
No,
but
no,
like,
it's fine. I actually like it. It's useful to see,
I don't
and it
think
does make sense too. Like if you're gonna build something, having it either to cliff, a waterfront, or mountains is like the default defensive posture of a city. You want some defense.
I might need a map design. Well, hit me up. I got decent rates. I usually do maps for between $30 to $50 depending on the size and depth of them. Uh, that's on Coffee. You can just privately message me though. I wouldn't mind just doing something on PayPal. Uh, Coffee doesn't take anything, in case you're wondering. But so the way I sort of described this to be, we'll use a placeholder right now for the city itself. We'll just use that. So like the city would probably be about here and here. They'd probably be split up into like districts. So this would be like the poor area. This would be the nicer areas, like between the mountains.
Mm.
They'd sort of be nestled. And the way I sort of describe things is they're sort of like a Native American, like Central American, the way they sort of, if you've ever seen the adobe homes like built into the side of mountains, that's sort of how I described the.
Yeah, like the Pueblo peoples. That's so
Yeah,
cool.
yeah, and that's sort of how I imagine them. So it'd probably be a little bit more mountainous. So we'll make it a little bit more. We'll tighten up the mountains here. Uh, I'm no artist yet. You take commissions to design maps. Okay, fine. I'm an artist. Great. I'm not a great one though. How's that?
You're gonna get dragged publicly now. I will personally lead the mob against you if I must.
Look, I'm not one of those people that's like, yeah, I just did a sketch and like put out like a fucking 40-hour piece, but I'm literally surrounded by people that do what I do. So I don't want to be like, yeah, I'm an artist, and then these people like make this fucking hours long piece. It's like,
I'm gonna put this
sit right
out
with
there.
me.
Any artist that down talks another artist is no artist.
No, I'll never. I mean, I down talk myself.
Right, I know, exactly. That's why don't do that.
I got
And
him.
anyone out there who's like, oh god, he said he's an artist and he put up like a 30-minute sketch that looks pretty solid compared to my 5-hour piece, get their head out of their own ass. Seriously.
Oh, I know.
Those people, someone who does that needs a little gentle knock in the ego. There's healthy ego, and there's I can't tolerate sharing the spotlight of literally all of Twitter. How dare?
Fucking Twitter.
And in my experience, I have yet to encounter such an artist on Twitter. Maybe it's because I don't go looking for them.
I want somebody to shit talk me. Okay, let me explain before everybody goes like ape shit on me. I want somebody to tell me what I'm doing wrong so that I can improve. I
You
don't.
want critique.
Well,
You
I
want
want genuine critique and constructive criticism. Honestly, hearing somebody say that my work is shit is significantly more constructive than just somebody saying, "Hey, this is really good." It's just like that doesn't help. I'm gonna be honest. Like it's nice to hear people say, "Hey, I like your art." It's just like, "Oh, that's awesome," but I'm like, I want people to like rip me apart to a certain extent. I know that sounds like really masochistic, but I want people
no,
to
no,
tell
no.
me
It
that I'm
makes
shit.
sense. It makes sense. A lot of people like to get like. A lot of people feel like the best way they can learn is to improve is by hearing what people think they can improve. I oftentimes find that one of the things that helped me as an artist was listening to people just tell me that I did good as well, because that is criticism to say, hey, replicate this or replicate this style. This style works, and if that's the case, if you read it like that, then it's just as helpful. Um,
Art just said you're placing mountains wrong. Thank you.
you're right. Dang.
Should be wearing one of my Bob Ross t-shirts. uh, so I imagine
There's
this
a little
place.
mountain range over here.
We're putting a little few mountains over here, like oh,
Put a couple corpses on that mountain.
a
It'll be
couple of,
our little secret.
and be our little secret. They're dead. They died. They died because they're fucking.
Died of exposure.
They died for their sins against the church. Like it's okay. I
No, you don't need to
imagine
know that. That's just for you.
I'll make this gray because I like gray. Gray is one of my favorite colors because I'm boring. Let's see.
No, I think it's a good idea, especially if it's going to be like a colder plateau. Like gray is a good cold color.
So yeah, I imagine this place to be sort of like a valley of mountains. But then we were talking about this huge like ashen desert. That was one thing I noted in the short story. So there's like this huge ashen desert that looks like it's like a mixture of snow and dust sort of constantly coming down. But the thing is just like, oh yeah, there's so much dust here. Why wouldn't you just harvest it and you'd be like fucking stinking rich? Well, the place is deadly, you know. It's just like
Right.
so yeah, it's a bit of a it's a bit of a it's not a bit of a risk, it's a giant risk because like you're jumping right into the deep end, right? Like you're oh yeah, I want to be a dust farmer and some guy that gathers dust and gets some of the most expensive resources in the world. But it's just like, would you do that to fight a bunch of mutated bugs and weather that is literally always below freezing, like well below freezing? What's
To mention what actual exposure to dust does to you,
yeah,
like
it just
a
kills
more
you.
apt comparison would be, I want to be a I want to be a uranium farmer. I want to go out into the uranium mines and get out my uranium pack and put everything in the uranium bag, then
Uranium
haul it up,
fever.
to my wagon and take it back with like 15th century technology levels of protection. Um,
Very
yeah, very
Dune.
Dune.
It is
Yeah,
very Dune.
it's
Yeah.
honestly, I have noticed that like dust is very swiftly sharing a lot in common with spice. I'm not against at all.
Oh, but Spice like Spice is
Spice does have,
it
yeah.
doesn't have the drawbacks that Dust does. It has drawbacks, but it doesn't have the drawbacks like the
They,
severity
they
that.
rarely ever focus on it narratively. Like it's kind of like in 40K when they're like, "Yeah, psychic powers, they're just a plus," and it's like, no, they're not. They're really not. Psychic powers are terrible. Or like, because in Dune, jeez,
My favorite
I'm gonna have
movie
another hit
franchise.
of my life juice here. Give me a second.
Nara says dense mountain chains next to coastlines can block moisture from reaching land on the other side, though sometimes deserts forming in those areas. It's cool and what you're doing makes sense. Thank you. See that's good feedback. Like that's genuinely good feedback. Thank you. See, that is one thing I've noticed is like you'll see these huge mountain ranges of like frosted mountains just like along the coast of a place, and then beyond it, it's just like everything's just frozen and barren. Because like you can have frozen, a desert can be cold or hot. When we
Oh
think
yeah,
desert, we usually think like sandy and hot, but it can definitely be frozen like a tundra.
Arizona has some of the hottest weather in the U.S. and some of the coldest weather in the U.S.
True,
Like
true.
Death Valley is one of the coldest and hottest places in the continental U.S. It is
See, I heard
that
people
damn
say
hot.
that, and then I was looking it up, and I'm like, I couldn't find anything about it being like frigid. So I was like, what the fuck?
Yeah, Death
Elise was
Valley,
telling me that.
high and low
I know it's the
temperature.
hottest place in the U.S. Period. Just
Let's see, so the world's highest air temperature is 134, and that was Death Valley.
Jesus.
And that's it. Yeah, and then on the other end was, I believe, where is it? Like, there's one particular one. Wintertime, temperatures drop to 3 to 5 degrees Fahrenheit. That's 2 to 3 degrees Celsius for everyone else.
Jesus,
Which is pretty nuts.
that's mighty cool.
So actually no, yeah, and it gets let's see, it actually does get like frozen in some places, which is pretty crazy. Yeah, record temperatures go all over the place. Temperature dropped to negative 10 C at Furnace Creek.
Jesus.
Yeah,
What's
well, it's
negative
because
10
of the
C?
fact that
That's like negative what? Like
that's 15 degrees Fahrenheit because it's
oh, that's right. Yeah.
yeah,
I'm not versed
because
in
it's weird. Yeah, it's really weird. The
European.
only thing they both agree on is when the temperature of water boils. Basically, that's it.
Celsius makes so much more fucking sense than than
So it's actually my favorite thing about Celsius and Fahrenheit is that they're used for two totally different things.
right.
Like the idea behind Celsius is its broad scientific temperature measurement. But Fahrenheit is designed specifically to measure temperature by context of human adaptation. So like if you think about it, the difference between like what would be 100 degrees Fahrenheit, like 100 degrees Fahrenheit, if I can get this right. Right, there you go. To Celsius. Yeah, like 100 degrees Fahrenheit to like 100 degree to like whatever Celsius is. Isn't that crazy? That's 37.7 degrees Celsius. And if I drop that down to say 50 degrees, that's 10. So that's a difference of 20 degrees. Whereas literally we have 50 degrees between that. So it allows us to get more specific, nuanced weather temperature for people to understand. So talking about weather with Fahrenheit makes sense. Talking about literally everything else scientifically should be done with Celsius.
Naris made a good point though. If you reach 100 degrees F, you've got a fever. So yeah, like,
Yeah,
that's a fair point.
very much so. Yeah.
Long hair, yeah, I let it down, Derek. I just said fuck it. I didn't want to put it up in a pony. My hair keeps getting tangled all the goddamn time, and it's wearing me out.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah,
tangled hair.
yeah, yeah. And I say, hey,
What's
I
going
got
on?
long hair.
Thanks, man. I appreciate you. I feel radical. Hell yeah, baby. Folks, one thing you'll notice by looking at maps is that geography is really spontaneous and random and jagged. Like you, especially along like coasts, there's no such thing as a smooth coast. So if we're making mountains about this size, let's say the scale of our maps probably like let's say the base of this mountain here is like 3 to 4 miles wide. So you're gonna have a lot of jaggedness along your coast. So don't be afraid to add teeth and stuff like that because it makes it look authentic and just weird jagged shapes. The most difficult thing to do when it comes to making maps is making things look authentic because it's just really easy to make everything geometric. And when it comes to making maps, you want oblong and strange shapes because that's what makes things feel authentic. Because you don't, you know, we don't even understand technically where we came from, like or where geography comes from, just because we are like, oh yeah, well this happened because like a volcano exploded. Sure, it's just like, but do we really know anything beyond that? Like it was just random jagged shit broke off sometimes, or we believe it broke off, but how much sense does that make? It just a lot of this stuff is it just sounds if you're not like a geographer or somebody that's like well versed in that sort of stuff, it's gonna just sound so unbelievably abstract that just trying to make sense of these things is just ridiculous. So don't be afraid to make weird shapes because your weird shapes that you think look bad look good when it comes to making maps. That's something you can get away with map making. It's just
Yeah.
making weird jagged shapes. Pretty sure geologists have explanations. Yeah, bullshit. I don't believe in science. Let's see. Well, I mean,
Bold claims.
well, I'm sure they have explanations. Yeah, but it's just like, would you understand them? Would the layperson understand such an explanation?
It's the old, sufficiently advanced science is indistinguishable from magic. Like we long since passed Clarke's third law. Like at
Oh,
this
sure.
point.
Yeah.
Like my phone is literally a glass cube with the access to the sum total of human knowledge as recorded currently, with the ability to instantly communicate with people across the planet. If I gave this to a medieval peasant and I was like, "Hey, you can look up anything on this. You'll be the smartest man alive if you just were like ask Alexa whatever." And yeah, no, legitimately the church might have words with that person. Um and that's not even like being ridiculous about it. It literally would read as magic. Um, so yeah, no, it makes sense. The same thing. Like scientific explanation is great for. It's good to know someone is out there cranking out those answers. It's really, really. You don't need to understand everything scientists say. You just need to respect their knowledge about it.
Derek said he's never used this preset. This is the Parchment World preset. One of my favorites to work with. It's one I work with all the time. It's the one that most people have commissioned me for. So I use it because it's sort of my style, quote unquote, quote unquote. So I am paying money for this. So yes, folks, I can legally license my shit off to people and be like, hey, you can use this. I came into the church will have words for that person. Well,
Perfect timing.
apt, considering the thing that I'm building here. Folks, you have any questions? Let's take something from the audience. Folks, do you want to see any sort of like geographical phenomenon in this map? I'm just sort of like drawing in jagged little islands along the coast right now. Long Rider's Block. You know, I'll add some bigger islands because a lot of the islands I've been adding in are kind of pissing. But yeah, if you folks have any ideas, I'm up for anything. Because honestly, when it comes to world building, yes and's the best thing you can usually do, unless it's just absolutely a lock. Oh, is that your fancy Gaelic word for a lake? Okay, sure, fine. There's probably is going to be locks. I mean, look at all the mountains here, and there's going to be a lot of runoff, so there's going to be a lot of a frozen overlock. Oh, maybe a
Yep,
lake
you can
that has
also
an
see
island with a
rivers going
mountain.
through here too. That's basically the two things that happen. You either get a lake or you get a river. Maybe you
See,
get both.
a frozen overlock, maybe a lake has an island with a mountain inside it. Oh, that's cool. I like that. That sounds like a very much like a wizard's hideout or tethered in
See
this
that?
regard. Uh, yeah, I can imagine there being a lot of frozen overlocks. This place is very very cold, so I could probably just like draw in these things just here and there. And when I sometimes it's better to let me see if there's like a lake. There's plenty of craters. Yeah. Craters might be a good representation of places that have dried out. I don't know a lot of Gaelic. I know two words. Okay, well, I guess you're not Scottish. Shucks. Let's see. Let's see.
He's
Just fucking with them.
just razzing him.
All right, now I've been talking a lot in privy. And saying horribly egregious things to them. Like how much I like their bass playing. Yeah. I like the craters. I never get to like use these things, you know. But I mean, you could do something as simple as like if you want to make something look frozen, you could just take a white and then I think that's on the foreground. Yeah, so we just color in the part that you would expect to be frozen part. Give some depth to it. Yeah, that looks nice. So that looks like a frozen crater. See, look at that.
Nice.
Gallic.
Don't start.
But I can't stop. I can't. I can't do that on stream. Oh, let's. With the weird world you're making, weird craters could be a thing. True. I don't want to do Earth motes though. I feel like that's a bit of a stretch.
Yeah, that's fair.
Earth motes are a little bit too high fantasy for what we're doing. But I like these little like snowy craters, like those. Yeah, that looks like a frozen lake almost. Maybe add a little bit of blue to it, sort of liven it up a little bit.
Yeah, it looks really cool. I like that. Got a
Uh,
nice touch to it.
Sorry, I'm not explaining like literally everything. That probably blinded everybody on stream. Sorry.
Oh, how dare. How dare you're not literally piping us into everything coming across your brainstem. How how hurtful.
You know, you could just add a few. That's what I do to mountains. You know, I just take them and I just like put a draw. This is something that you can do in Uncarnate. So I'm on the foreground layer. This is something that you can do with painting too, oil painting. Uh, your main color for rock, the opposite side of it is going to be blue always. So if you want to make, I'm actually doing this incredibly wrong. Hold on, let me do what I'm doing and then explain it correctly. So these dark sides of the mountains, what you want to do is you want to take get like a blue, darken it a little bit, maybe turn up the saturation. Yeah, that's a good blue. So what we're doing here is now, okay, I can't recommend doing this with like digital art because this is pixel working. You don't want to do pixel working in digital art. It's really unsatisfying and it just always looks bad. So um, I'm taking this blue. I'll probably turn it up because I don't really need to worry about it too much. So I'm coloring this side of the mountain blue. I might not do this with every single mountain, but I'm just sort of explaining. It's a proof of concept sort of thing. So you take that blue, make that look nice. You do that in the shadowed parts. And then you take a white, like a nice bright color like this, and to heavily contrast it, you put it on the other side. So you folks see what I'm doing here? Just because that makes it makes it pop, it makes it look like a mountain, you know? And you sort of just drag it down the side. And this is stuff that you would do with oil painting as well, you know? See, that looks like a mountain, you know? Like, that looks like a really nice icy mountain. Like
All you
Bob
need is
Ross
just a
teaches.
couple of trees there.
Yeah,
That's it.
that's exactly what Bob Ross teaches. That's exactly the way he teaches how to do mountains. Just have a really nice dark blue side and then have a lighter, more white side. See, look at that. That looks like a lovely mountain. You know?
I mean, the trick really with like art is like 80% of the time, the mid-tone doesn't matter. You can just make everything out of highlights and shadows. And the mid-tone is important ultimately if you want good detail, but if you just want to be evocative and get imagery out there, there's a reason black and white works.
Exactly. Black and white always looks nice. It also conveys a certain mood that a lot of things can't. Just because a certain lack of color just provides a lot. Happy little
Plus, you never
mountains.
have to worry about miscoloring it or using the wrong shades. Your
Absolutely.
mind will fill in the color to be exactly what it needs to be.
Yeah, so we have this nice little mountain here, you know what I mean? Like so we'll brighten that part up. Yeah, so that's nice. You know, I'm not gonna do that for every single one on stream. Also, just so you know, if you move the mountain out of the way, it looks not terrible, but not great either. But so, but we won't do that for every single one. Right now, we're just adding sort of, you know, geographical things. We're not gonna carve. We're not gonna. I just decided. See, the thing is with digital, it's really nice, and the same thing applies for oil. Actually, if you don't like something, you can just smudge it out. I've
Sure.
done quite a bit of oil paint. Maybe one of these days I will do an oil painting stream for you guys. Just show you guys what I'm not a very good oil painter, but I enjoy doing it, and that's what matters. I'm a hobby painter, right?
Yeah, there you go. You're having fun.
I'm having a great
Good,
time.
good
Yeah.
dodge. Not saying you're not. You know,
I'm not
that's
a
all.
I am an artist, but I'm not a professional oil artist. There you go.
That's. I think that's fair.
Two 30-second ads. Sorry, gotta make money. What did I miss? I feel so behind. I was just demonstrating mountains. Like I did a dark blue on like the shadowy side, and then I did a lighter icy sort of blue on the front side. That's a little sloppy, but whatever. It's not like I'm not gonna spend hours fiddling with it. So yeah, we'll do the mountain in the middle of the lake. That's a cool idea. Um,
Yeah.
so I think that was Neris's idea. So this sort of looks like a lake, right? We can kind of agree on that. You got to work with what you got here. So kind of what you're talking about is I feel like rather than a mountain, we'd have something like a karst, just this like a large pillar-like object, and we'll put it at the foreground. What in the hell is that? Oh, okay, that's right. Okay, I need to cover this up real quick. That's nice. Okay, so the way this looks really nice. Is that where Mjolnir landed? Yeah, sure. I actually don't know much about Nordic folklore. I feel bad. That is something I need to do some more research on. I know more about like Romanian stuff. So we can make this look real nice because it's an icy lake, right? So it's gonna have a lot of reflections. So a lot of
Yeah.
like the shadowy colors are gonna be blues, you know. So this little mountain's probably gonna be bluish. So yeah, that looks nice. That's a little mountain in the middle of the lake, and we sort of want it to be emphasized, so we'll move some things out, let it sort of stand on its own. That looks nice. Man, this is so cool. I know. I'm such an informative teacher, aren't I?
You're doing fine, Chief. You're doing fine.
I don't want to spend hours on this and then 5 days later I need to make some changes. Yeah, no. See, the thing is, you always got to start with broad strokes. You can't just like immediately hop into the details. That's especially applicable if you're doing oils. Oils, you have to
Yeah.
let things just sort of sit for a minute. Not even just for like the oils to sort of like set. It's more so for your brain to sort of be able to piece things together and be like, this doesn't look good. I need to fix it. Um, so that's another 2 30-second ads. Hey, look, I need to make money. uh, that is one thing I won't be shameless about. I will be shameless about.
Thank you, Ty. We appreciate it.
A great hideout
And
for a
it does,
tethered.
like, we do appreciate it, folks. And we appreciate your support of the channel as well.
Appreciate you tolerating my ads. So we want this to be a hideout for tethered, right? So let's sort of branch out and do something a little wicked and wild.
Nice.
I'm a voice actor, by the way. Sometimes I know I don't sound like it right now. I sound very hoarse and dry, but that's fine. I was just surprised at how close they were. It'll be back to back. It'll probably be minute long ads. Somebody gift Ty a sub. No, I'm not being serious. Don't. It's fine. So we want like a tether to be here. Um, even that is a character voice though, right? Yeah. I mean, I usually I don't talk in a character voice. This is my regular talking voice, but oh shit! How fucking far up in the fore? See, this is one thing you need to worry. I almost said foreskin. You need to worry about how much things
You
are.
then did say it,
I
actually.
said it anyway. Yeah. So like we want to keep in mind how far things are in the planes. Don't gift me a sub, thank you. So um, it makes it a lot easier if you like realize where you're at. So there we go. That's a nice little tethered hideout. Can't really see it, but we're gonna make the ocean. The ocean's a little bit of a drab color right now, so I'm gonna fix that. Uh, Oceanic regions and cold areas. Sort of a darker blue, maybe even a mixture of a greenish color. So I'm looking for like a greenish. That parchment gray is actually not far off from what I'm looking for. So yeah, the thing is with this is just you can feel free to just fuck around with the settings. I know this says gray, but it's not. You know, you can just it's like an off green. So that's a good
It's
color
like
right
almost
there.
a toxic kind of color.
We can sort of lower and lighten the brightness. So I'll show you how I do. Uh, Ocean. Sorry, it's had a huge brain fart. So we start with like the darkest color, because actually no, you start with the lightest color and then you work out dark because that's how that works. So it's like it gives that illusion of like land fading away into the depths. I don't like this ripple effect, so we'll get rid of that in a second here. This is going to be sort of sickly looking, which is fine. That's kind of what we're going for. If we're going for something along those lines, that is totally fine. Something that might not normally look good on another map will look good on this one. So that's what's fun about art, is just like you can have different pieces that represent different things, and they make sense. So we're trying to turn down the saturation a little bit. Gonna go
Yeah.
out here. Actually, it might be better to
A little
layer it the other
variation
way
in there.
around. Let's layer it the other way around. Let's start dark and then move in. So turn down the opacity a little bit. Go over in the layers. Trick is with stuff like this, you just want to work in the layers. Fortunately, I'm gonna have to call it. I'm near falling asleep, but hey, I made it in an hour this time. Well, I appreciate you
Get
coming
your
by at
butt to
all. All right, I
bed.
appreciate you.
Yeah. It was nice having you, but if it's like 2 a.m.,
Get
it's
some
time.
fucking sleep.
Yeah. We won't be offended by your not dying on stream for us. How dare you
I,
deny blood for the blood gods?
why don't speak for me?
You're right. I'm sorry. Red may want the sacrifice. I have enough on my altar already.
What can I say? I like corn. Let's see. Skulls for the skull throne, baby. Good night, Art. Nice having you. It's 3 a.m. Well, yeah, go to bed.
3 a.m. Yeah, no, jeez, Jesus. Yeah, no,
Go
seriously.
get some sleep. Turn down the darkness a little bit more. And we'll have that fade off into the gray. And up there. Yeah, that looks nice. We'll turn on the opacity a little bit because that is like intrusive. I'm gonna go over and do like, yeah, that looks nice. I know the
So,
feeling that I
okay.
didn't sleep last night thanks to my feet. Oh, yeah, I understand. With back problems sometimes. Cassie
Oh,
Mothman is raiding with a party of 7. Hi, Cassie. Thank you for the raid. I appreciate you. That's really nice. Thank you. I'm just, uh, I'm just making map. I make map.
make map singular.
Single map.
If you want multiple map, go to multiple map emporium.
Hey, folks. Welcome in. Welcome in. Welcome in.
Hey, reckless attack.
Tell us about your map. So I sort of put up a poll earlier because I was trying to figure out what we were going to do, and we ended up settling on Frozen Spain or Tethastris. So I'm sort of just making a small provincial map. Prov,
For the record, Tethastris
Provi map.
is the city that he and Derek have been working on World Builders, the program that comes on
World
after.
Breakers, you son of a bitch.
Yeah, World Breakers. You're right. World Breakers. World Builders is another show, maybe.
No, that.
World Breakers, which comes on after Writer's Block. Writer's Block. Wow, I'm tired, and I'm operating entirely off of sugar, which is why my brain is leaking out of my ears.
Ah, yes, the American one.
Yes.
Hey, hey, hey! Like you. I'm glad everybody's using NEOs emotes. They're great, aren't they? Okay, sorry, got distracted. So, I'm taking sort of miniature requests for like geographical phenomenon. Is there any relation to world enders? No. Wait,
Alas, no.
what am I
Reach
doing?
out for branding possibilities.
Reach out. Sure, no. If I'm gonna get an advertisement with anything, it's gonna be. I'd really like to get a deal with World Amble or Grammarly. Both of those are good because I use both of those. Sometimes
Yeah.
even on the show. I use Grammarly on the show for sure. But
No, honestly, as stupid as it would be, I wouldn't mind a manscape sub. I think that'd be hilarious.
maybe for you, I don't even have enough of a beard to warrant that. But Cassie, again, thank you for the raid. That's amazing. Thank you. I
That
appreciate it.
was super generous. Thank you.
And hello, raiders. Nice to have you. This is a bit of a
Hey,
casual
Raider
stream
peeps.
compared to what we usually do, but say okay. I'm coloring on the background instead of the foreground because I'm not paying attention. Let's see.
So I actually have not had a chance to catch up with World Breakers as much as I'd love to. And so break down to that. I mean, let's break it down. What's Tethastris about? Like, we know it's a location where the tethered like to hang. Tethered being our super volatile mages. But beyond that, what do we got? Because I saw theocracy in the writer's block notes.
You got Cassie all confused. She's like, tomorrow's World Builders, right? No, Riders Black. Yeah,
Yes.
tomorrow is Riders Black. I'm gonna be having on Alec Azam and a fellow named Neon Politic, and I'm looking forward to that very much. Might be a shorter episode. I might actually shorten the Riders Black episodes. I'm thinking about it because I think 2 hours is a bit demanding for everybody involved. But I'd like to hear you
Yeah.
guys' feedback in that regard. But we were talking about Thastris. What about it other than let's say than a theocracy? Well, it's an isolationist nation that sort of cuts themselves off from everybody else because they believe themselves to be technically speaking they are somewhat uh, able to fuel themselves. They're self-sufficient, but at the same time they're really not because there's not a lot to eat because farming is near impossible in a land that is choked by dust, snow, and ash. So a lot of it is hunting, and a lot of their eating is Derek, I think a lot of their eating is bug meat
Mm.
because Derek and I were talking about giant insects wandering these.
I mean, them void creatures come in many shapes and sizes. Why not, right?
Oh, absolutely. And
It's all like with enough with enough spices and seasonings.
But this place is probably one of the darker things that I've written in a long time. I wrote a short story about this place, and my God, my brain goes into dark places sometimes. Cassie would know all about that. But, uh, but yeah, it is Nathan of Reckless Attack. Nice to have you, man. But yeah, I wrote that short story, and I just kept like delving deeper into like how messed up can I get this. It's sort of a theocratic dictatorship, but it's not really. It's more of an oligarchy or an autocracy. Probably, I'd say oligarchy would make more sense for this place.
If the
But
oligarchs are all religious figures, then you just call it theocracy and get away with it. It's
yeah,
fine.
it's like a yeah, it's ruled by a few religious elite, and the things that we sort of set up is that they're very proud of what little they have, and to the point where in my short story, the ongoing event that's happening there is that people are literally just starving to death from and the government's decided to sort of be like, okay, we'll hand out rations. That'll alleviate the problem. So then you have people that are stealing the rations, and then the people that steal the rations are killed. They're publicly executed uh, in
Lovely.
a yep, and this ritual that's like what the hell did I describe it as? Uh, you ever see like the prayer where they get down all elbows and knees and they're just like completely hunched over?
Yes, and yeah, that's prostrate. That's what it's called.
Yeah, they sort of like this is dark, so I'm sorry, folks. Viewer discretion in advance. So
If
what?
you're this far into our series and you know what we're doing, you all should know viewer discretion is advised. We're not making a nice setting. Post-apocalyptic hellscape would be an appropriate term.
Yeah.
So
So what they do is sometimes they'll if depending on the severity of your crime, they'll kill you before they do this, but they'll strip you down because of the elements will obviously kill you if nothing else does. They sort of pin you through the neck with a metal pin to these rock structures. And you're just in the nude, permanently in that position until you either bleed out or freeze to death. And that is their way of publicly executing people. It's their way of sort of doing warning people, being like, hey, if you steal, you're gonna end up like this guy. Do you really want to be like this guy? No, of course you don't. But that is not me just being a sick, twisted fuck. Well, it kind of is. But it's also I'm lowering the wrong thing. It's also that's a very common thing that's happened throughout human history, like even up until the last 200 or 300 years. Like, that's public executions as demonstrations is not anything new.
I mean, death by a natural environment is like is
Oh, death by
like
exposure, yeah, for sure. Like,
yeah, like honestly, it's a pretty disturbing way to imagine to die, but it is from the purpose of like being a society vastly more economical than setting up a like firing squad or a hanging zone or any of the other terrible ways you can die, because those all take resources. It takes literally zero resources to take someone to a cliff and yeet them off the top, or
true,
like
true, true.
just nail someone to a rock and be like, okay, this is your life now. It'll probably be another 3 days. Like, yeah, no, that works really well. It's
Nara
turns
says,
out cruelty is cheap.
Nara says, well, I'm sleepy. I'm gonna head out now. Thanks for streaming. Are you sleepy or are you terrified? Well, thank you for stopping by, Naris. I always appreciate you coming by.
Take care, Naris. Have a good one. Feel better soon. All the best.
I am playing with my hair too much instead of actually doing things. So I'd imagine there'd be a lot of ice flows in this place. I just realized that all these little chunks of island, I could probably like double them and like make the density significantly higher on them just because of the glaciers and stuff like that. Just chunks of stuff breaking off. So I will up the density on those. I'm gonna get rid of this ripple effect. It is bothering the fuck. Okay, good. We'll replace it with another effect. I just don't particularly like the ripple. So if you've ever played if you, I don't know who hasn't played Elder Scrolls of this or like Skyrim specifically at this point, but if you've ever been to the north, like just even further north than Winterhold, you'll see if you remember those giant ice flows,
Oh
where
yeah.
yeah, like the ones where the Horkers, is that what they're called? Horkers? the big seals. That's where they hang out. Yeah, that's kind of what I imagine this area to look like. And there's probably people like that one psychopath that like lives out on one. And you
I
know,
mean, it makes sense. Surrounded on all sides by water, it's a defensible location. No one's gonna bug you.
but it's cold and there's like almost nothing to eat except for horkers. So
I
horkers are
mean,
hard to hunt.
if your goal is to be left alone, that's a feature, not a bug.
No one.
Like living somewhere no one else wants to live is in fact a very practical way of getting solitude. So Mr. Hermit enjoys being in the middle of nowhere, then cool on him.
I'm just yeah, I'm adding like little chunks to the ice flows and stuff like that, making it look a little bit more icy, and then I'll obviously hit it with color afterward. But right now, no. So yeah, like I said, folks, if you want to see anything or you like have any questions about world building, here is the place to ask them because obviously we on stream it's a little bit more difficult to answer those things while keeping a flow. But yeah, if you have any
Sure,
questions or anything
as
like that.
much as you like.
Oh yeah, you can just literally flap your gums, ask me 100 questions, and I'll try to answer as many of them as possible. Or Omni will try to answer as many of them as possible.
Yeah, I'm
Whomever.
here, folks. It's still somehow miraculously here. I don't know how my consciousness has remained afloat and not fallen into diabetic coma, but here we are.
A lot of watery goodness happening right now. Wow, I just realized this is probably really, really boring to watch me put in like little ice flows. But
Cool. It's Zen. Here's the thing: if you think it's boring, it's not.
I forgot to
It's
put on my
still a
music.
vibe to it.
We've been streaming for how long and I haven't put music on? An hour?
Dude, we're
Sorry.
barely
Oh my
functional. We
god.
gotta cut ourselves a break.
Sorry, folks. I was gonna put on this cool fucking mix that Derek sent me, and I completely forgot about it. Okay, it's on now though. So, let me know if that's too loud. But we vibing.
Let me take a picture of this.
Exclamation point lurk. I appreciate lurkers. Lurkers are love. I appreciate you being here, Mark. Much love, man.
Yeah, the lurk is the lurk command, which I don't think we have a lurk command set up.
I didn't even know that was a thing. I thought that was just a joke.
Yeah, no, I actually like you can set up a command for lurk where if you just like type lurk and it's just like, hey, this person will be back later, just to let person know like, hey, they're formally just lurking at this point.
Oh, I don't mind. People can lurk and not say anything to me. I'm not gonna be like upset about it. Appreciate you lurking.
Besides, you have me here. It's all the company you need.
Oh,
I'll
yeah.
drive you insane all by myself.
That's all I need. I did a lot of streams by myself, and I'm not big on it. Having somebody to talk to is pretty nice.
It's fine for like gaming and stuff where you have something to riff off of, but when it's just your own creativity, you can get really deep into stuff, which is really fun, but it's not nearly as engaging as having someone to riff off like this.
Yeah, and you know, doing stuff like this where I'm like making a map. I don't know how entertaining I can be. You know, just like running my mouth nonstop, constantly. It's just like some people like putting on a stream and being like, "Oh, this streamer's pretty quiet." Like, it's like I'm sorry. I should probably put chatty down as one of the stream tags actually. But sorry, folks. I have an incessant need to fill silence. It's not me out of awkwardness or social anxiety. It's literally just a habit that I've always had.
There's nothing wrong with it, and honestly, when it comes to this kind of thing, it's good for content.
Oh yeah, like
I'm the sort of person that I can live in silence, and then I go like, oh wow, everyone in chat's watched me be dead silent for 30 minutes. I'm alive, guys, I promise.
I haven't like I don't think I've ever gone like dead silent on stream because I've never like played anything or done anything that like requires that much focus. Because right now I'm literally just moving my mouse around a little bit and clicking every now and then, so that doesn't require a whole lot of focus, right? It just and if I mess something up, there's no pressure. It's not like I'm playing CS where people are gonna like publicly, like vocally flog me in the chat if I mess something up. Like
honestly, I used to play Titanfall 2 back in the day, and fun game, super fun. But man, there's no more high-stakes game of try to stream and look at chat while also sprinting at 35 miles an hour along the sidewall and try to dodge the giant robots trying to smack at you. it was definitely an experience that in my 20s I could do. I cannot replicate that in my 30s. I don't know how 20-year-old Jake did that. That was a miracle. That was a genuine miracle.
Titanfall 2 got like a big reboot, from what I understand.
Kinda. Like, they got a re-release on the PC. It gave them a little bit of a boost. Honestly, Titanfall 2 is a super fun game. If anyone, not sponsored, hashtag not sponsored, but if anyone ever wants to play a fun game, I would recommend firing up. The campaign alone is worth playing for, genuinely. And the multiplayer is pretty fun too, though finding games now is pretty tough. It is an old as butt game, so
I'm here just to...
settings.
Yeah, no problem, man. No problem at all.
Good, man.
If you're just hanging out, that is totally cool. That's kind of what we're doing right now, is a hangout stream.
Yeah.
Folks can tell me about your day or your week, or I don't know. How's 2022 been treating you so far? Just a nice chill stream. I wish I had some pot. I wish I had some alcohol. Yeah.
I was like, depending on what locality you're in, we can't finish that sentence.
Yeah, legally I can't finish that sentence, but no, I can.
Legally you can. There's nothing's talking about the. It would require us to immediately set this to an 18+ stream if we started talking about that.
I mean, we can talk about alcohol and stuff like that. I'm gonna legally be able to purchase alcohol very soon, which is interesting.
You know what my favorite thing about being 33 is? Realizing that drinking is actually not really that awesome.
It really isn't.
Like, it can be fun with friends in small controlled situations, but the big issue I have, most alcohol just tastes like crap. Like really bad. And people convince themselves like, yeah, oh, beer is so good, that hoppy goodness. Like, dude, you're drinking liquid bread. Like, I understand for a lot of people it's what they grew up on, or it's like a thing that they've drank for a long time. They find the appeal in it. I will never find the appeal in that. No shame admitting it either. That's why the only stuff that I drink is stuff that tastes like fruit. I want it to be a fruit drink that I don't know it's hammered.
Nah, that's alright, man. You're my favorite fruit.
Yeah. You're twice my age. Yeah, no. And thank you. I appreciate it.
I am. You are most certainly probably twice my age. I am very young. Like I said, I'm one of the youngest in the community. Apparently, there's somebody the other day that's 20. I was like, damn.
Yeah.
Oh no. Well, I'm 20. But yeah.
Yeah. No, you are the young one.
I am the young guy.
You are by definition the young gun.
It makes you feel any better, folks? Sometimes I forget I'm 20. I feel like I've just like slept my years away.
I literally didn't know he was 20 till we were like a session into this, and I was like, oh my god, you're that young? It doesn't seem right.
And nobody's ever held that against me, you know? Mostly, I guess it's just because most people don't realize it. I don't know, I don't want to be like one of those people like, I'm wise beyond my years, but I'm just like, I got all this shithead energy out of me in high school. Like, early high school. I'm just like, I want to be productive. Like, I just want to, like, do things.
Speaks for itself. That's what it really is. Like, people don't need you, like, you don't need to brag about your quality of, like, maturity, because, you know...
I'm still hyper immature in a lot of places, but isn't everybody? Like...
I mean, yeah, no, everyone is. Everyone's a kid. Like, 80-year-old people are still probably making big jokes. Like, you know, not talking about it out loud.
I mean, why wouldn't they? People still laugh at farts when they're 80. It's just like...
I mean, yeah, no, I plan on having a rip-roaring good time when I hit the age where I can just let flatulence go, and it's not just socially acceptable, it's expected. So... It's
expected for you to fart.
I mean, when you hit over 70, if you have bladder and butt control at that age, like, well done.
Butt control is gonna be the name of our show when I turn 40.
That'll be our OnlyFans channel, Butt Control.
Butt Control, featuring Nakata. Oh god, I should not reference that. I feel like Derek would be the...
We're not making that on shirt.
Derek knows a lot about like the horrible sides of the internet, so I bet he got that reference.
Absolutely.
Nakata Avocado has an OnlyFans, so it's just in case you were wondering.
I woke up at 30 and realized I've never been 20. That is such a huge move. That is the biggest move.
Yeah. See, the thing is, I don't know, like, I feel like I grew up a little bit too fast with things, and I had somebody call me out on that even when I was, like, a kid. They're like, why do you always act like an adult all the time? And I was, like, 14 or 15 years old, and I'm like, because I don't want to fuck up my future, I guess? Like, I don't know, like, I don't want to fuck something up really bad.
in my experience, people who are mature beyond their years have seen people who aren't and seen the damage that can be done. Like, I was a kid who was bullied a lot when I was young, and so, like, I very swiftly learned the value of kindness and the value of shutting the hell up and not opening my mouth to say whatever pops out of it, like, when I hurt
Yeah.
people, because I had people do that to me a lot. And so I decided actively not to do it. They were like, wow, you're so mature. I'm like, no, I'm just not a dick. But I guess I figured out that that is a thing when I was younger than others, so...
You're good, Derek, man. I don't mean to like take you away from that stuff. I appreciate you being here, though. Don't let me keep you from your lessons, though. See, okay, this is looking nice. See, the ice flows are looking nice. Just me being quiet and yeah, it looks nice. It looks good. Just need to keep working on it. I don't like that background of white either. I'm gonna have to like change that to a different color. But
You'll get there, man.
we'll get there.
So, okay, I have a question for you for your city-state.
Sure.
So, all right. So, Thevastris is a... So we know it's a theocracy.
Yeah.
We know they're isolationist. We know that their big vulnerability is food, which is a huge vulnerability and probably the thing that messes with their other trade, because their other trade partners like leverage over.
Oh, they probably hold well because they're also an isolationist nation. So when they do have to trade, unlike the Desperation Act, they're really begrudged about it. Also, it's not easy for people to get out to Thastris, you know, so it makes it even more difficult.
Yeah, no, I have a feeling it's the kind of thing where someone says, I would like to leave, and they're like, why? And then before you know it, the Inquisition's knocking on your door.
Well, how would you leave? The Inquisition probably wouldn't even need to bother you. You'd have to trek through this several 100-mile long frozen wasteland.
Yeah, that's very fair. That is, like, that's one of the things that I always thought was funny, was a lot of people think about exile, like, as a punishment. They're like, oh, they just have to leave. That's not too bad. And I'm
No,
like,
they're dead. They're basically just being condemned to death.
Is death by environment.
It's just a very human thing to do, because it's just like, oh, well, we don't want to kill them, so we'll just do it like, you know, we don't want to watch them die, so we'll just send them out to die. Out of sight,
like
out of
in
mind.
some places like the Roman Empire, places with like a large, well-traversed, well-made road network, you'll probably live, but like, or you might live, but like you're entirely dependent on the kindness of strangers, who just as well might murder you and steal what little you got. So like, yeah, no, exile's rough. It like that I think isn't that like literally a yeah, that's how they kill judges in Judge Dredd. They're just like, hey, you served long enough. Your retirement is to take your gun and the law, and like the book of law, and walk into the radioactive waste and bring law to the lawless, and like no one lives more than a week.
Sounds like a good vibe.
Yeah, no, exile from this place is death. It's like your retirement is effectively not having to worry about retirement.
I mean, I don't know. Like, see, the thing is, people are like, oh, you'll get so old, you want to like just go, and I'm like, I don't know about that. Like, I don't think there'll ever be a time I'm satisfied.
Is it the same in the Carl Urban version or in the comics? The Carl Urban version is, they don't really talk about exile. They do talk about how like people living on the edge, people living on the edge of the cities go through like a lot of radiation poisoning. It's where Hershey's psychic powers came from. And I do know in the comics, yes. I do know that exile is a thing that was taken. Here's the funny thing about the Sylvester Stallone Dredd. It was actually pretty accurate to the comic books, with only one big, stupid, glaring thing that they did wrong. They had Judge Dredd take off his helmet. That was it. Other than that, also they gave Judge Dredd like a positive personality. Dredd is not a nice guy. He's a fascistic authoritarian figure. He's not meant to be looked up to. He is a parody of the police state, the same way 40K is a parody of authoritarianism.
Wait, are you telling me that I shouldn't look up to the Imperium of Man?
I mean, that I can't say that out loud because the Inquisition will have at me. But
true.
A loyal Imperial citizen should know what parody is.
Somebody posted a meme. I should have retweeted it or something, but it was so funny. And it's just like when the UK was struggling in the 90s, their main export was like satire that people took seriously, and they put out like Rorschach and V for Vendetta and stuff like that. I'm like, oh god, it's
I mean,
real, but
like,
it's harsh.
yeah, and also it makes sense too. Like, I always like to say, like, there's nothing wrong with reading into satire. It's designed to be deconstructed. It's pre-deconstructed stuff. So, like, if you want to hear what, like, especially the collapsing, like, because let's be real, that era in the '90s was like the beginning of the political collapse of Britain's hold over international politics, even more so than what's been happening during, like, during World War II and all that. Like, the U.S. stepped into power, but it was really in the years following the decline of the British Empire truly, like, completed. And it basically became just a nation amongst other nations.
Somebody made a really touchy meme about like, oh yeah, this we have EU home defense system, and it's just like, oh, this is gonna be good, and then it's just like, legally we can't do anything or harm the burglar, but we can give them a swift reprimand and like and scold them, and sometimes we'll even invite them to join the council. It's just like, oh god.
Like, I'm gonna put this out there. Anyone who thinks that just because most of the police in, like, the UK or in Europe tend not to run around toting guns at the ready at all
They can
times.
choose to tote a gun if they want to. They literally can.
Yes,
That's something that they
they
talked
can
about.
choose to. Most prefer not to because they prefer to keep the streets from escalating. Two, anyone who's ever imagined that they're somehow weaker has not seen literally rows of these dudes in riot gear with plastic shields beating the living crap out of people without guns. You do not need a gun to beat the shit out of someone with a stick.
I would rather get shot than be hit with a stick over and over again. I'd rather get a hole patched up in me than have to get a bunch of bones on my head repaired.
I mean, like,
My skull rather, not my bones in my
the
head.
bullet will definitely kill you, but the truncheon,
I
like,
mean,
once again,
that's not even true though. Like it depends where they shoot you, you know. And also 9 times out of 10, those guys, those riot guys, they don't have guns. They have like, well, they do have a gun, but they shoot like rubber bullets, you know. Sometimes it will just
right.
bruise. It's a
I
dissuader,
mean,
not a
like, unless
killer.
you get to short range, that's where, like, this is one of the things I had to study a lot when I was working on Legacy was, like, the scale of lethality for weapons. And, like, the thing that really struck me is that humans have still to this day not invented a non-lethal projectile weapon. Like, literally every projectile weapon we've ever made has the potential to
I
kill.
mean, yeah, but like the potential
Not
to
even,
kill
like,
of like a beanbag round is like, if I had to guess, 70 to 80% less than a
like
bullet.
well, yeah, no, definitely. But, like, once you get to close range, it doesn't matter. Like, that's the issue, is that when you're firing out a gun, guns don't need bullets to kill you within a couple of feet. The blast from the powder is enough to kill you.
Right.
Like, that's literally how some people die as stunt folks working with guns is, the gun is empty, it's just firing blanks, they get just a little too close, and before you know it, you have a new superfluous hole in your
See,
body.
blanks aren't even empty, quote unquote. Blanks actually
Well, they're
do
gunpowder.
fire a charge. Yeah, they have.
Yeah, it's gunpowder is the thing. Anytime you're getting an explosion involved, it's lethal at a certain range. So, and beanbags are just, it's the old, like, it's that old, like, kung fu action trope where it's someone punches you so hard you
You
spit out
die.
blood.
Yeah, like.
Right, you
Yeah.
know, and while normally it takes a lot of punches, like, one punch delivered swiftly enough will totally kill you. And one beanbag square to the solar plexus, close enough to you where atmospheric forces have not slowed it down, it'll totally collapse your chest.
Oh
Like,
yeah.
people get killed by rubber rounds and like beanbags all the time. Especially if you aim for anywhere slightly vascular. So, like, here's the worst about human. I'm gonna take a moment here. Just jump on the humans are poorly designed train. Um, and this is why I think my strongest advocate for why I believe in evolution. Because if somebody designed us, they did a really sloppy job. We breathe out of the same hole that we eat and drink out of. That is stupid. That is terrible engineering design. It's economy of design in the one system you don't want to fit. Why would you do that? Next, you're telling me we poop out of the same system too. Oh, wait. We do. Like the whole thing is a pain in the butt. But the thing that's really frustrating about humans, haha, pain in the butt. The thing that's frustrating about humans is the fact that we are extremely resilient. So it makes us hard to be killed clean, like lobster. But the problem is that we are not resilient to specific kinds of injury. Bludgeoning injury, humans are super resilient. We can take shocks and falls surprisingly. Go figure. But any kind of puncturing wound is like that's our kryptonite. We're designed so that there's a reason why every animal on planet that wants to kill something is sharp in some way, shape, or form. Like pretty much reliably is sharp because that works. That's that's the tool. That's the way you drop someone. You punch them sharply, and that gets through them and they die. And so
Punching them
it's
sharply.
you make a point and you put it through somebody, and that be the killing tool more than anything. In both situations, I'd rather be shot. I would honestly prefer to be I'd prefer to be truncheon, because this is the reason why the myth of like a police officer shooting someone in the hand or the arm or the leg to spare them doesn't work. We're so highly vascular that like literally there's no safe place to shoot. You shoot someone in your torso, there's like every vital organ there. You shoot someone in the head, that is the single most important organ, and everything supporting it. If you shoot them in the arms and legs, we have so many arteries and veins running through them that you have a not indecent chance of striking, of hitting Texas crude, as it were, and immediately bleeding out. And and the worst part is the sort of damage that a bullet does. It doesn't just like make a neat hole; it tumbles. So like bullet wounds really are less like a neat needle through someone or like a metal spike. It's more like someone taking like a dull pen and smashing it through paper, and then just doing that through all of you. And that's why when so many so many gunshot wound victims get into an ER, and the doctor's like, "I got nothing." It's like there's nothing you can do. It's just
You
keep
just
going.
plug it up and hope for the and then it's honestly 9 times out of 10 it's better to just leave the bullet in.
Yeah, because the damage is done, and taking it out might cause even more. And if it hits a major artery, then especially if it destroys the artery, what are you gonna do? We don't have backup equipment. It's not like I can get a spare artery and patch that in. Like that's basically what
One day.
and we sort of can. Like people, my grandfather had a bypass where they literally took part of a vein in his leg and put it in his heart. That is the thing that they do all the time. But it's not like you have that many spare parts. Everything in your body is necessary. So if you take one part out of your body, pretty much everything.
Except for your appendix.
You're actually finding out that actually has importance. It's not like it's gonna kill you, but it does.
You could live better. Well, yeah, you could live better with it than without it.
Yeah.
But, that goes without saying.
That's the trick. Like everything in the human body has a function, because the way evolution works is you only really keep what works, and what doesn't slowly withers until it's replaced. But until it's fully replaced or gone, like even our pinky toes, that bugs me. Can I just say how much that bugs me? That humans need their pinky toes to maintain their stability and speed.
Yeah, it's about balance.
Stupidest thing in the world. That the toe that literally seems to exist in the modern age only to cause you harm in like cluttered hallways is dependent on what your body depends on to stay vertical. It's terrible. Terrible design. As a mechanical engineer, I could have designed a much better human. But
you sound like Samuel Hayden from Doom. It's just like the weaknesses of flesh.
I mean, that's one of my favorite tropes. Is like the idea of like, what are humans? We could do better. There's this really weird. Like, I'm gonna see if I can find it. There was this PSA that somebody made. I can't remember which country and their safety. I think it might have been the U.S. Like the highway safety or something like that.
Yeah.
Human design car crash. Okay. somebody went and redesigned a human that is designed to drive a car.
You know what? I have seen that. I have seen that,
Yeah,
and it is weird and canny as fuck. Uncanny,
yeah.
rather.
His name is Graham, by the way. Hilariously, he is actually like. Apparently, there's like a real physical Graham, like someone made Graham, like a sculpture of Graham.
Yeah, it's really weird looking.
Yeah, well, because yeah, we made a human that has natural airbags, and like a body built like a literal brick shithouse, because that's what it takes to survive a car crash.
Okay, so in that with that train of logic, would a dwarf survive a car crash?
I mean, by design, probably better than us. Yeah.
Sorry, not like a somebody with dwarfism, but like an actual like fantasy dwarf.
No, I know what you mean. We're in the TTRPG space. We know precisely what you mean. Like we're not like going, yes, are little people better at surviving car? No, that's not what we're talking about.
So that's actually a conversation that Hal and I had. We're just like, is the term dwarf offensive? It's like no, they refer to themselves as dwarves. They're little people.
Like, I don't think it really like.
It doesn't matter that much.
I will say the same thing I say about everything with this sort of thing. What matters is the opinion of the individual.
Well, yeah, but they have literally. It's like the. It's kind of like the NAACP in that regard. It's just like they have an association for little people, or they call it the Association of Dwarves, I believe.
Right. Well, I mean, there's like there are. I mean, there's technically still like there's structures in government that are named for things that just don't work anymore. I think there was a Bureau of Colored People up until like literally the late 2000s.
But the NAACP is the National Association of Colored People. You know what I mean? So like,
right, exactly. Like, yeah. So like,
it's whatever they prefer to be called. That's
right.
It's all about
The important thing. Yeah, exactly.
It's about what they want.
Right. You ask them, give them agency. A lot of people. Hold on. Clearly, it's my body saying you've drank too much sugar. Have water. There we go. A lot of people reclaim words that might be considered harmful on an individual level, and other folks find them still too harmful to do that.
I'm a pan person, and to be quite frank, I say the F word, if you know what I'm saying. I've reclaimed it. Like, I don't get offended by it.
You see, I don't, because I know enough people who are harmed by it.
Oh, I would never like use it in front of somebody that wasn't okay with it. I wouldn't just be like, well, I'm okay with it, so you should be too. That's a really shitty mentality.
No, I get that. I know exactly where you're coming from. I sit on the other side of the spectrums, but I understand and I appreciate that you have reclaimed that word. I'm pan too. I'm in that same zone of like, it's all about respect. So
yeah, most people don't know I'm not straight.
To will a fantasy dwarf survive a car? Which is somehow a better conversation.
Go on,
actually,
please.
So getting to the mechanical nature of it, I actually think they would, and so follow me on this.
I'm listening.
The reason why humans die so often in car crashes is because it turns out that, and also reading it also helps to read pressure releases in tracks. Clever, Wolf, you're right. I'd gladly go without my feet. I like my feet. At least I like one of them anyway. If I want to get robotic legs, I'd like them to be at least as good, if not better, than my current ones.
That's what I'm saying. If I would literally hack my fucking arms off if there is a guarantee that the replacements would be better than the ones I currently have.
Oh yeah, if we were in Cyberpunk Red levels of
hell yeah, I'd hack off my arms in an instant. Are you kidding?
Yeah, I'd be like, just upgrade me, dog. Put me in a ghost my shell.
I'd want my ears replaced so I could hear things that I normally couldn't hear. I don't have bad hearing. I want better hearing. You know what I mean? Like,
I feel you. I actually do have like slightly damaged hearing, so I would not mind an upgrade.
Well, I was a drummer in band, so I totally understand the damaged hearing. I have a tinnitus every now and then, the ringing. But...
yeah, I don't remember the exact word it is, but it's because of the fact that I worked in the safety department and there was a defective fan over my head that kept clinging metal.
Oh, lovely.
Yeah, and I'd worked there for years, so I didn't realize it until later that it had damaged my ability to perceive background noise from foreground noise, so I can't filter that out very well. So when I ask you to repeat yourself, it's not that I didn't listen, it's that my brain was literally going, hey, that fan in the background, that's super important, you should listen to that. And I'm like, what's wrong with you?
No, I've had that. I've had phenomena like that happen. Not to that not to that extremity or extreme, but
Yeah.
like, you know.
It's enough where I need to get people to repeat themselves occasionally.
Yeah,
So
nobody minds repeating themselves every now and then. It's just like when you have to repeat yourself like 8 or 9 times, just like.
yeah, I usually stop at 2 to 3, thankfully. Um, but so okay, so the whole idea with the car crash, what kills humans with the car crash, 9 times out of 10, besides the insane physical forces involved, which will kill anything. I'm just gonna put that out there. A car crash will literally kill a blue whale. It'll kill an elephant. It'll kill everything.
Yeah.
There's not a thing on God's green earth that wouldn't be killed by a Camaro going at 75. And how messy that is, an instant it is, that'll vary. But like, basically everything will die to that. Putting aside instant death, physical forces involved, what usually kills a person is brain trauma. It's why boxers die. It's why football players die. It's why people generally die from getting hit in the head. This brain is sitting in your brain, it's sitting in your skull, and in the brain pan, there's just a little room of give, which is actually a good thing. If your brain swells, it has a little room to grow and a little room to shrink in case of traumatic injury. But the problem is that when you grab someone and shake them really hard or really fast and abruptly, your brain can literally bruise itself on the inside of your skull, which is the equivalent of if you've ever watched Gundam or any giant robot anime and the robot gets punched and the dude inside gets swung around and bashes his head on the inside. That's you. That's your brain inside your head getting smashed around in its cockpit.
This is your brain on drugs.
This is your brain. This is your brain getting punched by a giant robot. So the idea behind the why I think it's possible for like the shorter, stouter folk of fantasy to survive a car impact is because a lot of what makes that worse is human body structure generating whiplash. So when I'm in a car and I'm driving and I suddenly stop, my arms aren't going to move, but my head, yeah, and that's what causes my brain to slap the inside of my head like a red dodgeball, basically. But if you got a seatbelt, it restrains how far you can move, and only your neck will do it. You don't want to do your head to that because that'll be bad. But if you're smaller and you're stouter, you wouldn't have as much of your body to whiplash. You wouldn't be able to generate as much, I guess, relative speed at the tip of the lever that is your body in that chair. So you would be less likely to suffer from concussion. Plus, the shape of a dwarf's skull in fantasy, their heads aren't the same shape. Like, I don't know if any of you guys have noticed this.
They're typically square.
Yeah, they're literally built like bricks. Their skulls are built like bricks. Halflings, their heads are practically racing cars, like racing helmets. At least, again, the D&D 3.5, some 5.0 renditions. So they have different skull shape, which matters a lot because that changes the way the brain gets shaken inside the bell jar that is your skull. And a dwarf, a fantasy dwarf with their head built like that, would provide a flat surface to disperse energy on impact, as opposed to our skull being rounded, would mean you'd have one point of impact and all the energy would radiate out from there. So basically, dwarves are made to be sort of like little square airbags.
Square bags.
By structural design. Square bags, yes.
SpongeBob square
I
bags.
defer to that. That's clearly the union preferred term.
Square bag. Oh, what's that, you little square bag? I didn't hear you down there. Sorry, that's my dwarf voice. One of these days I will play a dwarf on stream, I promise.
So my ex-wife and I, when we were playing in a D&D game a long time ago, she actually had a really cool idea for a dwarven character, because me and her had this thing where, like, the archetypal D&D races, the elf, the dwarf, the human. I like humans; they're varied enough where you can do whatever you want with them. But elves and dwarves tend to have so many tropes associated with them that oftentimes it feels like you're playing a parody of a stereotype to a degree. For me, personally. and I like to have a little more meat on the bones of a little more diversity in my characters. I'd say.
Sure.
So she had the really cool idea of actually making her dwarf not Scottish, like most dwarves tend to be archetypally Scottish,
But
or
Irish.
you know, she actually made hers instead, as I recall, New Zealand. And so we worked on giving her entire culture, like a more of a slightly more Maori style bent, a Pacific Islander bent.
Oh,
Uh,
so you're like native New Zealander is what you're saying.
exactly. She
Okay.
had an accent like a New Zealander. I don't know how, like, this term may not be kind, but Kiwi. I don't know how like that is by people, but
I don't know.
I don't think it's negative. Um, but like a New Zealander accent, and it was actually pretty cool. I could never manage it. I always defaulted straight to Australian, which to me is just the sniper from Team Fortress 2. So
Sniper's a good job, mate.
challenging work, outdoors, never go hungry. Um,
No, Dad, I'm not a deranged killer. I'm a professional gunman. There's a difference.
difference being one's a job, the other's mental sickness. I love that line. Like I literally, at least 3 of my characters are indirectly inspired by the Meet the series. They're so good as character studies. Like if you want
Australian's an
to,
accent I need to study more. I need to work on my French accent too, because my French accent's it's atrocious. Like,
yeah, I've really fallen off my accent wagon. I tend to focus more on having like highly varied vocal structures, like inhuman vocal structures, more than like accents. So
accents are my strong suit when it comes to voicing characters, just because I have a bit of a range, but it's not enough to like warrant me like doing higher pitched voices. Also, I don't feel comfortable doing higher pitched voices personally, unless I'm voicing a character that's more feminine. Even then, it's just like, I wouldn't play a character that's more feminine personally, because I don't like doing those sorts of voices. It's just not comfortable for me. But
that's fair.
if I'm voicing a woman or like somebody with an unfeminine voice, like I said, I will like raise my voice as much as I can, but I don't do it to sound ridiculous. I do it to sort of go with the fact that, oh, this character is feminine because they have a lighter voice. But yeah,
That's fair. I actually like. So a lot of people ask me why I tend not to play the more feminine persuasion characters, and that's a personal thing.
it's not my forte.
Um,
Yeah, it's just
yeah, I'm cis. I identify very strongly as cis, and it's one of the few like normalized, I guess, or like societally accepted aspects of my like of my identity. Um, and I'm interested and willing to expand beyond that in characters, but I like to very much embody my characters vocally, and I've got this definitively non-feminine, growly, masculine, deep voice that like I am closer to Barry Manilow than any feminine person I've ever met, or more feminine tone I've ever
the
met, and
cowback,
so
cowback cabana.
like I could work around like possibly finding it out, but 9 times out of 10, it just I tend to focus very little on the gender of my characters. A lot of my characters become gender neutral, like literally non-human or like abstractly non-human.
I mean,
Or
you
forged.
at the end of the day, it's like you do whatever the hell you want to do. I find comfort in doing accents for my characters or for specific voices. Like my comfort voice is my ironically enough, I call it my redemption voice. It's just the voice I did for one of my very first D&D characters, and that's this voice. It's this one. I do this one for Vaunt. I do it for a lot of my arrogant sounding characters. Just a
Ah,
little bit more emphasis on things. That's the voice I do for Red, and that's the voice I'm comfortable with doing. I've done like twink voices. I'll put it that way. I'm not saying I'm not doing the Google thing where it says twink derogatory. I'm saying twink as in like lighter, more feminine male voices, but I can't help but feel like I'm just stereotyping and making a parody of people, and I
right.
don't like
Yeah,
doing
it's
that.
it's that discomfort of it. You mean no disrespect, but you understand that the attempt might be construed as such.
Well, yeah, it's in the same way that I don't do an accent that I'm not comfortable doing. Like I will
Right.
research an accent before I do it on camera because I don't want to be that jackass. It's just like I'm gonna do a British accent and talk like this. It's just like that's ridiculous, and that's not. I mean, a lot of people are like, okay, that's kind of a harmful depiction of British people. Like, don't. I mean, like,
Yeah.
okay, yeah, a harmful depiction of a white person. Ooh, but you know what I mean? Like, it's just, it's not. It's, I like to be professional when it comes to that kind of stuff. I like to know what I'm doing instead of just jumping into the deep end and pretending that I know exactly what I'm talking about. It's the same reason, like, there's a lot of people like, oh, can you do, like, a French accent? I'm like, no, I could, but it would sound awful, and I don't want to do that, because I'm more versed in, like, European, like British and, like, UK-esque, uh, over the years. Like, and I also a lot of my youth I spent around people from the UK, just because I knew a lot of my friends were from England and Wales and stuff like that. So
Yeah, I get that.
I picked up on their manners of speech and then like how they spoke, and that was something that I was just like, okay, yeah, I can talk like them, and I wouldn't be offending anybody by doing it. So like, yeah, it's just when I see people who are like, oh yeah, they choose, oh that's a stereotype voice. It's just like there's no such thing as somebody that does accent studies, there's no such thing as an accent being racist. It's all about the intent behind it. Like,
Right.
and
Like,
I put out a tweet behind that. It got some traction, but I was just like, I'm sick of these people being like, oh yeah, a white person trying to do like a Chinese accent is racist. It's just like, it depends on the intent. Like, if you're doing
yeah.
it to be harmful or be stereotypical, yes, sure. But,
The
the,
bigger harm usually is like the bigger harm I've usually seen with that kind of thing isn't like, oh, the accent's bad. It's like a poo from The Simpsons. The issue, besides the fact
oh,
that a
I
poo
have
is,
words.
yeah, there's a million words on that. I'm gonna avoid getting into that too much because that is a topic so hot it's radioactive.
No,
Heck,
I'll talk about it, Pooh. I will definitely do that on stream because I am a voice actor and I'm happy to talk about that kind of stuff. Uh,
right?
a Pooh, in some ways, is a harmful depiction, but
Yeah,
most ways is not, and people just really took it the wrong way because like when all this Me Too stuff started happening and everybody just
yeah.
there we were just sort of us as a society, we were looking for things to cancel. Apu is not a harmful depiction of an Indian person. If you know anything about Apu, he's an incredibly successful, rich businessman that is a ladies' man. He is faithfully married to his wife. Yes, he has a bunch of children. How is having a bunch of
Right.
children an Indian stereotype? Nothing about him is stereotypical except for the fact that he owns a gas station. That is the only thing that is stereotypical about him. And people are
Right.
like, why does he have that accent if he's in the United States? It's just like he learned English in India. So of course he's going to have that accent. You don't just get rid of an accent, especially at a certain age. There's a certain
Yeah.
age between like I believe it's between birth and 16. It's just like you can pick up an accent from anywhere, and
Yeah.
you keep it for like basically the rest of your life.
And you can still pick one up even later. Like
Yeah,
you, and basically, it just depends how long you spend in an area, and you can start internalizing it, or like when you start picking up words. Um, and like honestly, I think the bigger issue with Apu was, and it's a difficult topic because the issue that was raised is, well, it's not like The Simpsons is hurting for cast opportunities. Why is it that they have a white guy playing an Indian guy?
yeah, but
Well,
he
it's for the
the guy
stars.
he wasn't even white.
Right.
That
And
that
so,
was the thing, and people like instantly
yeah.
assumed that he was white. It's just like no, the guy is not white. He's not
And
Indian, but he's not white.
and even then, I'm going to put this out there because it's a very difficult topic. It's a very difficult topic because the issue of what it comes down to is representation, and it's the topic that always tends to come to this kind of thing. It's the idea of um, there's a large number of people out there who could be really good in a role, and they often get passed over by people who oftentimes, through no fault of their own, simply won a genetic roulette to just get the face that people tend to like better. But at the same time, on the other end of that spectrum lies the dangerous side of, well, if you're not this particular subdivision of humanity as defined by other people, at this point is basically stereotyping, or like what's the term? Like it's when you cast someone in a role and they can't get out of it. Typecast. It's like a destructive. It's an ethnic variant of typecasting, where like you can only play this character or this type of character if you share the exact identity of them. Somewhere between the two is a fair, reasonable world. And we've been spending the past couple years deconstructing every aspect of our society. So that's a tough question, and I don't think anyone has fully explored that. I think the important thing is to discuss it.
There's a thing with that, and like things that a lot of things people didn't really get offended about, and we don't think about it. There's a lot of Hispanic people playing Italians and a lot of Italians playing Hispanic people. You know why?
Yeah,
Because the two of them, depending on where you're from in Italy and depending on where you are from Central America or even South America or Mexico for that matter,
yeah.
kind of share a lot of similarities in appearance. So like yeah, that's been a thing for years, and that's been a thing that nobody ever talks about. The thing that's harmful is having like a non-white person play like a Native American, for example, or a white person playing a Native American. That's where it draws the line at appropriation and stuff like that. But people
The
just
real
always looking for something to get upset about, and it's just like, well, let's get upset about the correct things. You know what I
the
mean?
real
Like,
harm is when people. The real harm that exists in these situations is when people who are highly qualified are not just highly qualified, but peoples are not represented properly in media. And all that needs to be there is respect, consideration, and a willingness to include. So, like, if you do a story, like, say, for example, The Last Samurai,
oh
and
god.
yeah, and if your whole cast is white, you have a problem.
I found out something about The Last Samurai, and people are like, oh, that's a whitewash movie. I found out why exactly that is. It's because
Yeah, no,
that movie's about a French officer, if I'm correct. French or
it
Italian, I
is.
don't
It's a
remember.
French officer who's training Japanese troops. It's about the whole Dutch studies era of Japan and the death. There's a reason it's called The Last Samurai. It's about the death of what we consider classical samurai before musket fire, because
Hmm.
that is what killed the age of the sword in Japan, was the advent of firepower of bullets.
That's what killed the edge of the sword everywhere in the world. That where we
Yeah,
had swords.
turns out a hypersonic knife that you can't dodge is a pretty good counter to a sword. Um, so yeah, no, and that is kind of the point. Um, but generally speaking, if you're going to make if you're going to make a piece and you're going to theme it as a cultural piece, but you're not going to consult or involve people from that culture, you are the problem. But if you
Yeah,
are involving them, if you're working with them, if you're doing your best to represent them fairly, and you're willing to admit the things you don't know and do as little harm to no harm as possible and give an opportunity to be represented, usually you're fine. It is like all things, it is intent. I can accidentally run someone over with my car, but there's a difference between I swerved to hit someone on the sidewalk and they threw themselves under my wheels when I was driving 60 on the highway. One of
right.
these things could not be controlled, the other one is murder. And intent factors in. So, yeah. Seems like a significant oversight. Monks don't get a negotiation to half your movement speed to get up from prone. That's an interesting point.
Do they not?
Um, I guess not, yeah.
That is weird. But
Well,
like,
you know what? You're right, they don't, because I got knocked on my butt as my Aarakocra monk like 1,000 times, and I always lost half my movement. I didn't lose my flying, but I lost half my movement.
that ain't right. You should only
Well,
lose
yeah.
like 5.
Well, the problem is when you lose flying, you fall. So, like, you take falling damage and then you go prone. But there's nothing if you survive the fall damage, or you have like, you know, the feather fall equivalent ability that monks eventually have on the way of the fist. They just don't take falling damage. They have the distance. They've,
Kira just said, don't
um,
forget to save. I'm like, well, I do have 1,300 changes, so yeah, I probably should.
that's fair.
I have been like micro managing and micro working things, but uh, Lord, I just had a fucking brain fart, and I was gonna say something. See, when it comes to cultural stuff, you don't need somebody from that culture to tell you what you're doing wrong, depending on the scale. So, like, for
Right,
example, those capybara folk that I made for a Sunday project is sort of like my chill out project. Um,
right,
I they're heavily inspired off of Central American, Southern or actual South American cultures. Uh,
right,
Heavily inspired off of that stuff. I didn't put anything harmful in there. I made references to
right,
things. I depicted the people in a good light.
right,
I don't need a consultant for that. What I did do is I did 2.5 to 3 hours of research about the Andean people and their culture.
right.
That's all it takes. All you got to do, you don't need to be a cultural consultant to be good at something. All you need to do is make sure that you're not just being like, haha, I'm making a Japanese world and they all they have is samurai and they say mata
Yeah.
mata. It's like that. Of course, that's offensive and racist. Like, because like that's your two takeaways from Japanese culture is that
That's
they look
also just
cool
like,
and they sound cool.
and they use a Genji line,
Yeah,
like,
that's what I mean. Oh, and anime, of course. It's just like, come on
yeah,
now. Like, that's not their entire culture. Same thing. I had to do a lot of research about the Andean people because honestly, there's not a lot of stuff online that's like reputable about the Andean people, you know.
yeah.
And
Well, that's a problem, generally speaking, with a lot of indigenous cultures in the U.S. is that, like, honestly, the U.S. was extremely efficient in their genocide of the native peoples, to the
yep,
point where much of their cultures, in many ways, have been as decimated or destroyed as historically as the people have been physically, and it's really hard to recover a lot of that. There are probably a large number of nations that have been buried over history. It's a tough thing to dig through.
yeah,
But
and
yeah,
it's
you're
just
right.
like the Andean people are very difficult to think about because you not only had the Mayans come in and sort of destroy them, a lot of them, but you also had the Spaniards just completely finish them off. So it's just like there's not a lot of recorded things about them. And I wanted
The
to.
Spaniards are very thorough.
The Spaniards were you think the Americans were thorough. Oof.
Yeah, no, dude. There's a reason why whenever people are like, whenever this topic comes up, I mention more than once. My last name is Castro, and I like my last name, but I also understand that comes with a lot of historical baggage when it comes to topics of colonialism and genocide and that kind of thing. Like, yeah, well, to say that I have a mixed view of my world heritage is not an understatement. Um, but yeah, no, really, what it comes down to, what representation comes down to, is providing a complex, and you don't even need to be fully positive. It just needs to be complex and non-damaging.
Right.
Like, the real reason why a lot of the old stereotypes don't work anymore, arbitrarily, comes from the fact that a lot of the old stereotypes weren't meant to depict those people as human. Like, the reason the old Johnny Quest show and their depiction of native peoples or indigenous peoples is so toxic is because what they really wanted was an excuse to shoot monsters, and they just chose other people to be those monsters, which is
Bad call.
super scuffed, to be real with y'all.
That's Hanna Barbera for you.
I mean, yeah, but also it's a product of the time, in the same way that, like, early Steamboat Willie film. Don't even get started on the blackfacing. Um, like, or God forbid we talk about the old Merry Melody cartoons. Same thing.
Yeah.
Like, it's not an easy thing to face that what we did in the past as cultures may not have been so enlightened, and then look at it as a dark mirror for today and see the same things being continued now. Yeah, no, that's the real issue. Like, you can have a character doesn't even need to be empowering. You don't need to have a character who solely exists to be like a Captain America-esque depiction of a culture. To be fair, they just need to be a person first and foremost, a real, well thought out person, and you will almost never go wrong. Uh, oh, okay. Usually, you'll never go
Well.
wrong. Is he heavily retconned? Yeah. Yeah, I feel you. Like, I actually One of the things I wanted to do with Legacy when I started working on it was work entirely from whole cloth, just because I want to see what I could do. And while I do borrow elements from history to a degree, small usually, they're usually governmental structure. Um, but as an example, the Shrike have lairds and a medieval house structure, which works pretty well for me. But otherwise, I do my best to build their cultural structures from the ground up and see what organically grows out of them. And it's really cool how easily you can build complex characters from nothing,
Yeah.
with no cultural background to draw from. And really, that's the key. If you made a character and you removed their cultural background and they're still a good character, then you're in a good place, usually. Like, that's the trick. If you can remove any one element from a character, they don't instantly collapse under their own weight or writing, good sign.
Yeah, that's something that I thought about often while I was writing my book. It's just like, oh well, is this character a stereotype from culture? No, not a single one of my characters read that way, and I haven't seen or heard anything about my characters being read like, oh, this is a harmful depiction, or this is just bad taste. Just like, no, none of my characters read that way. The culture and stuff like that, the inspirations I use from like Romanian folklore and stuff like that, that is secondhand compared to the actual what my characters do and what they're all about. So like that's, you know, and shit's changed a lot. Like Kira was saying, just like you've retconned a lot of stuff since 2016. Yeah, because it's just like even back then, even as near as back then, it's just like what's that, 6 years ago? It's like that's, shit's different now. Like it's very different. And we're a lot more conscious of the things that we choose to do, and that's okay. If you fucked up that long ago, just like, and people are holding that against you, well, that's on them. It's just like, yeah, we all had a skewed worldview, and honestly, a lot of people still think like that. So it's just like, better on you for being conscious of it.
The honest truth is, what matters is acknowledging harm you've done, working to mitigate it, and that's it.
That's
That's
what
all
I
anyone
mean.
can do. People make mistakes, they screw up. Fine.
Unless you're like Jimmy Fallon and doing blackface in like 2014, that's different.
Yeah.
But
I mean, look, it's not everything can be waved away with an apology, and another thing that I'm sure everyone out there knows at this point, you don't need to accept an apology.
true.
Like, everyone out there should hear that, just in case you're wondering. Like, as a person, if someone apologizes to you, you don't need to accept it. You need to accept that they've made it, but you need to move on. And if part of that is accepting the apology, great. If part of it is making peace with the fact that you will never be okay with what happened, that is also okay. As long as you come to a conclusion where you can feel okay at the end of the day.
Yeah, and you should never feel obligated to like feel a certain way, especially if somebody tries to like pressure you into doing it. Fuck them for
Especially
trying
if
to
they've
pressure
harmed you.
you into,
Yeah.
feeling a certain way. It's just like, nah, you are completely able to feel whatever the hell way you want to about something, and if somebody doesn't respect that, get them out of your life.
Right. That's why it's called forgiveness. It's a gift. You give people. You don't owe people forgiveness. So yeah, when Jimmy Kimmel goes and does, blackface and
Oh no, that was Fallon. I don't want to shit on Kimmel.
Fallon,
Kimmel's not
you're
a.
right, Fallon, not
They're
Jimmy
they're all
Kimmel,
they're
Jimmy
all the
Kimmel.
same. They literally are all white dudes that look the exact fucking same, dress the same, do the same shitty comedy.
Yeah, and running for the with terrible people. I know. Like,
Yeah.
but
I will shit on white people as much as I want. I am white people.
yeah, no, like it's you're not obligated to accept that apology. What matters is
No, never.
actions that occur after, and also for the record, the spirit it occurred in before. Um, therein lies the difference. If you have enough empathy to understand the harm you could do by doing an action and you still do it, then you've chosen to break. That's what the real problem is right there. That's why Hanna-Barbera, like, why those cartoons read super bad. It's because when you look back, It wasn't that we didn't know that native peoples deserved respect and like decency back then. We did know. The U.S. happens to have an extensive background in what happens when you screw with indigenous people and treat them like, well, fodder. Maybe draw from that. It wasn't like they didn't have that as a reference, and they still chose to do it.
Yeah.
Like, you know, so.
Trying to make a fucking shadow and it looks like dick. God damn it.
Oh, God. Well, you know, hold on. Zoom out. Let's take a look at the whole thing. I actually want to see how... Man,
I'm trying to get like this big plane over here.
it looks good. I like it.
Thanks, man.
I think it looks great. I really like the shore you kind of got, the shoreline you got going over there.
Oh yeah, I'm happy how that turned out. I'm just working on a big fucking I'm really tempted to just say fuck whatever I'm doing, because I'm doing something like nightmarishly difficult. I'm not even sure how to tackle it. I want this to be like a giant plateau that sort of overlooks this place.
Oh, gotcha. Okay.
And I don't think
So
it's
you're
gonna
making like
read
a
well.
basin. Oh, no, I see. So you're making a plateau over that.
Yeah, I don't think it's gonna read well no matter how I do it. So let me go back.
I mean, the trick is you need to see where the shadow falls, and then put the shadow on that side. And the shadow is only falling on the right side of all the mountains. So, I'm sorry, man. I'm gonna mention it. You wanted critique. Here comes the constructive critique. You're not gonna see much of the shadow on this, but that's fine. It
You
doesn't
can
need
see
to
shadow like up here on the right. That's I want to restart because it doesn't look good. So that's fine. That's
honestly
part
what
of
I find the
process.
best place to do the shadow is just the wall. So like crud, I don't have my.
I'm gonna put it like, I think the shadow would be sort of here-ish.
Let me see if I can.
Actually, maybe this shadow's really good. Actually, I like that.
Yeah. Like if you're gonna do a plateau, then your best bet is to just have like, if I can doodle this out fast, like where the shadow is gonna be best, it's gonna be on the actual wall, like that.
You see what you're doing there, quick.
And that's where you're gonna get all that shading from if it's gonna be presented like that.
Yeah, maybe I'll just make those bigger. That might be a strat.
Just have like little spots where the one part of the wall sticks out more, and then I make that dark. Maybe smaller and less opaque. Yeah, exactly. It doesn't need to be too big.
Yeah, these don't need to be huge. I just want them to be like.
Yeah.
I think a shadow would shine anywhere. It'd be like, or shadow would drop anywhere. It'd be definitely be like up here-ish. So I'll have that heavy, and I'll go from there. Problem is, there's not like I really like the cliffs on this, but they're not exactly what I want. It's really annoying in that regard.
I think that looks pretty good, actually. I think the shadowing, the shading you had there looks pretty decent. I'd just tighten it up, make it even smaller, and you'd be good.
Yeah, I'm gonna layer the snowy shit over it. So let me.
Dude, it's already 11:13. What?
God damn.
And 10. It's 10:13. Like 10:13 Central Time.
And so to come up, yeah. Sometimes shit just doesn't look bad on your first iteration. It's just like whatever, it's fine. But yeah, I imagine it like it's sort of. What the fuck happened there? Oh, I'm not at 100% opacity. Damn, that's rough. Let's try that again. Make the brush a little bigger. Fill this shit in. So like, I think it'd be sort of like that. Sort of have like a face up here-ish. Yeah, like that. And then I'll go ahead and fill in the smaller parts. Not that small though. I'll probably put a little bit more of an edge on this somehow, some way too. So.
That's fair.
And I'll go ahead and clean up the other edges that I haven't cleaned up. After I finish this part, I think we'll call it for the stream because we've been on for almost 2 hours now, I think.
Yeah. And we're both, I think, at least I can speak for me.
Well, that's hard. I just rather not be working on a map for another 2 hours on stream.
The sugar literally has, for me, the sugar has ceased having effect.
Sugar has left the station.
Yeah, it's like, hey man, you fought well. I'm done.
I need to watch
You can die on this hill alone.
Yeah, I need to watch Boba Fett after this.
I still haven't seen the 3rd episode.
Watch it. It's good.
Yeah, I'm gonna do it. I'm not upset about it. I'm not the sort of person who's like, oh god, the critics and fans hate it. Well,
do people really not like it? I think it's good so far. The last episode I didn't care for. I thought it was a little weak, but
apparently a lot of people really didn't like number 3. I hear.
It was a setup episode. Like the action scenes were a little lame. I'm not gonna lie, but
I mean, not every episode. You know, it's why it's
not every episode's gonna be. Yeah, not every episode's gonna be a masterpiece. That's why it's a show, not a movie. That's fine. You need build-up episodes. I don't care what anybody says about that. But when you have like, that's the first episode that's been like poopy for that show so far. So I'm not gonna hold it against them.
They can't all be bangers.
That still doesn't look good. Ah!
It'll be fine. It'll be fine, especially when you start adding texture onto it. It'll look good.
Maybe.
Oh, that was new.
What's up?
Oh, I was sort of stretching my arm. Occasionally, I'll like sort of just tense up, do like arm Pilates basically in order to stretch them, and I just popped my like shoulder by flexing my bicep. I've never done that before. That was fun.
I just wish
it hurt. It just was like strange.
You're actually just dying. You actually have like chronic shoulder cancer or something. That's what WebMD told me.
Oh god, don't dunk that on me, please.
Dude, every time I go on WebMD when I'm feeling bad, I'm just like, I can't wait for them to tell me that I'm like terminal. Like,
I don't go on there anymore. I just sort of.
WebMD's terrible for that. It's just like, oh yeah, you have like a weird itch in your nose. It's just like you probably have like brain cancer or something. It's just like, okay.
Yeah, I mean, I think WebMD at this point is like.
It's a meme. It's a joke. Like
It is. It's really only. Here's what it's good at. It's really good at helping someone who's already been diagnosed know how to manage symptoms and maybe look at possible like avenues of treatment outside.
It's the reason why people don't take self-diagnosis seriously.
Well, yeah, because you shouldn't, because it's a terrible idea.
That being said, self-diagnosis is that whole thing. It's just like, well, you're paying for something that you already knew. That's a really bad way to look at things, but.
So, how do I put it this way? If you stub your toe and you self-diagnose as now broken, that's not going to kill you.
Right.
If you cough up blood or have blood in your stool and you self-diagnose,
that's different. Well, yeah, that's different. But like,
it's orders of magnitude. That stuff. Go ahead. You have a first aid kit at home. The worst thing that's going to happen, you might scuff it up a little bit, but you'll be fine. If it's anything serious, for the love of God, if you have anxiety over it, it's probably reasonable enough to go to the doctor at that point, or a clinic or something.
Fair.
You can.
I mean, but I'm not gonna like. I don't want to have to go to a psychiatrist to get diagnosed with something I already know that I have.
Reckless attack. My self-diagnosis that I need to go to the doctor. Yes, that is the best. That is the best self-diagnosis.
Damn, I don't know what I can do.
Prescribe myself one doctor's visit.
Gotta figure out what the fuck I can do here to make this look good.
Honestly, I think it just needs a little texture, and a little something up there.
I
can't afford a problem. Big mood, man. One uninsured person. I haven't seen it yet.
Maybe I could like layer these. Yeah, that might look nice. I don't fucking know. I just work here, man. Let's.
Sir, this is an Applebee's.
Sir, this is a Twitch stream. Is anybody even? I'm sorry, I've totally been ignoring chat because I'm just like going like full autismo mode. I'm probably.
Oh, we're good. I occasionally do my best to sort of pop in there. Agreed, action scenes were meh, but yeah, the show's still fun. There you go.
No, I say autismo like knowing well that I am on the spectrum. I'm not saying that. I'm saying that to make fun of myself, not people with autism.
I know for a fact I also am as well. It's just one of those like I haven't.
I don't need to go to a
I
doctor
haven't.
to tell me that I have like a poo brain. Like that's what I'm saying. Like,
Uh, that's pretty funny. I don't. I just can't afford the proper assessment. I would
I
like
can't
to.
either. Like most people can't because it's just so ludicrously expensive, and it's just not.
Yeah.
It's not a
Also, at this
reality for
point, I'm
people.
33. I've already undergone therapy. I could probably stand to go through it again at some point. We'll see if that works. We'll see if I can muster up the coinage.
Therapy is just
Speaking.
troubleshooting for humans.
Oh yeah, no, 100%. It's just it's necessary for that reason. Um, like I very much wish I could tell everyone to go get it, but if you don't have insurance or you can't afford it, then it actually might
It's yeah, it's really fucking
That's the
obnoxious. That's the problem with the United States. Just like our healthcare is just so ridiculously bad.
one of many
One of many
problems.
problems. Well, yeah, but that's like a staple problem that we have here.
Oh
I'm
yeah,
always seeing people talking. Always seeing European people talking about like, oh my god, how do you guys even like live over there? It's like,
and we're like,
it's expensive.
sorta don't. That's kind of the problem.
How do I make this look? God damn it! Sometimes you just gotta let out a shriek. It helps.
little subhuman scream there.
Ah!
Not well, Europe. Not well.
Not well
Yeah,
indeed. I'm living. That's about all I can say.
that's fair.
Maybe I have like a little. As I walk through the valley of the land of death. Sorry, I'm like loopy right now.
You're good. You're totally good.
Wait, okay, this could give it the depth that I need. I could have it like be like a little trail that leads down. Okay, there we go. Perfect. There we go. I figured it out.
Did it. That's exactly. That is exactly what I want. What I was suggesting. Like, you just need a little. Just need to make the actual like wall of the thing have a shadow.
Are you proud of me yet, Dad?
I'm proud of you, son. I am proud.
God, I'm gonna put a hole in my head. It's wearing me out. Let's see. Not actually, folks. I'm fine. I'm in one of the better mental places I've ever been in my life. Let's see. Like that?
I have been jamming to Lucio Crossfade for literally
You're vibing, man. You're straight up vibing. You're allowed to go to bed, bud? No, I'm fine. I don't go to bed until 7 a.m., Nathan. And
I,
that's a
on the other
fact.
hand, am totally allowed to go to bed and will after stream.
No, you will, man. You can go now if you want to. I don't care. I'm just vibing.
No, you're good. I'm down with vibing with you till we end it.
Is this it?
Popping up.
Is that it? Is that the texture that we needed?
Yes.
A bite? Just a little...
Little chomp.
Little chomp. Little chomp's gonna be my rapper now. I'm unhinged. I'm unhinged. I'm coming off the door, folks. Just watch out.
I have one thing I'm going to do before I go to bed tonight. One thing.
Yeah.
I'm playing Halo Infinite, and I just need to kill 7 Spartans nutrition.
I uninstalled Halo Infinite. I was taking up too much space.
For me, I'm addicted because I love the aesthetic and I love the design and all that. And the current seasonal seasonal event, the Cyber Showdown, is so good because you're not forced to grind it one challenge a day. You can grind through the whole thing in like one day if you want. There's nothing stopping you. They don't limit you anymore to your ability to plow through it. It's really good.
That's dangerous. That's dangerous for
It
people
is.
like me that have like the brain that I do, where I just hyper focus on shit to the to the extreme, to the point where it's just
Oh yeah,
unhealthy
no,
for me.
100%. I get that completely.
PC
But for
isn't
me, it's
capable of playing Halo. Yeah, no, my PC is hardly capable of playing Halo.
my PC won't even begin. It can't even run Destiny 2, let alone Halo Infinite. But my Xbox can. Like, so that's why all my gaming streams, I have folks like, you need to turn your mouse sensitivity up. And I'm like, that'd be great if I had a mouse.
Don't they have things where you can like literally hook up a keyboard and mouse?
Sometimes they can be janky. If you're on a PC, you can hook up a controller.
Well, yeah,
Much
but
more
why
easily
isn't the other way
than a
around?
controller mouse to an Xbox.
Yeah, but
that's much less effective, and depends on the quality of the peripheral. And honestly, this is fine. The what? Okay, hot gaming take here, in the TTRPG space. So therefore, it's like lukewarm and no one's gonna care.
it's a very lukewarm take. Yeah, go.
Yeah, mouse and keyboard versus controller is entirely bullshit. It doesn't matter.
It's
They're both
literally
good at
by
different-
preference.
and they're both good at different things. Mouse and keyboard.
I love my keyboard.
Does really good at like precise long distance, like immediate click movement. It's really good precise high speed movement, but it doesn't give good feedback and it actually leaves you with worse spatial perception. Because here's the thing:
No,
when
I
I play
agree.
mouse and keyboard, I don't feel my controller tell me someone missed me with a grenade, and I can feel the thud before I hear it. I can feel people trying to kill me. So I have better spatial awareness.
All right, man, you're sounding a little schizophrenic now. I can feel people trying to hunt me down.
But
So-
at the same time, the issue I have is that also with what's the word? Oh boy, auto aim, aim and correcting, aim assist. That's the word, aim assist. With aim assist, I can be pretty accurate too. The problem is that I can't spin on a dime like a mouse and keyboard player can. But
True.
I don't necessarily want that also. I played Unreal Tournament for years. I know what that's like. It can be fun. It can also be a giant pain in the ass. And if I so much as fart in my chair while I'm playing, I might accidentally shoot a quarter mile to the left if I have my settings high enough. So
That'd be funny
honestly,
though, if nothing else.
it would be pretty funny, actually. But honestly,
comedic.
I prefer controller to mouse and keyboard. I don't know. I think it's because also the design is a little more ergonomic. I can get what I need done on this more readily than having typed for years and learned keyboard typing in school. As in when I was in school, computer class was still a thing.
Computer class was a thing in school when I was in school.
That's good. I know that apparently some programs some like localities are cutting their program because they're like, kids grow up with it, right? And I'm
Well,
like, not all kids, you dumbasses. It's how you get a generation of computer illiterate people.
And computers are getting more and more relevant, so that's probably a terrible idea. Okay, look, these chunks I just took out of the fucking thing look amazing. I'm sorry, like, they look great. I love this.
I need to apologize. You're on topic, and it looks fantastic.
No, I'm just. This is a topicless stream, to be fair. I'm just doing whatever the fuck I want. But
That's fair, man.
I'm liking how this is turning out, though. Like, yeah. Anyway, yeah. So
Mostly Big Bug and Oregon Trail. Yo, that's a big mood. For me, it was always missile defense. Missile defense was my jam. I was that guy.
I had cool math games when I was in school. You fucking.
Yo, we actually had those too. I still remember. Let's go again, like Number Racer or whatever.
Number Racer is a
It
good
was-
one.
Or like math Racer, I think is what it's called. And you had to at the end when you get through your lesson at the very end, you have to race the evil racer, like evil racer, the black clad racer. And every time you would get to that, PC would have this stupid little sound effect because they only had like maybe a kilobyte to download an audio file onto. And so the only sound effect that it would give you for when the bad guy showed up, I kid you not, is oh no, oh no, oh no.
That sounds
and it made
right.
me this thing in the world.
That's the best.
What would be weird is that because everyone would be playing this in computer club, or not computer club, but in like our computer class at the same time, and everyone would get to the test at the same time, so you'd hear like a dozen PCs at different times going, oh no, oh no.
That had to have been the funniest shit.
It was literally, it was just the endless meme.
Yeah, I bet you guys definitely like talked about that during lunch and shit like that. Like,
All the
shit's fucking
all
funny
the
as hell, dude. Oh no.
time.
We had fucking what's that? The Papa's Pizzeria, that type of shit. Like literally, Cool Math Games went from being like this educational site to being like the least educational thing I've ever seen in my life.
Oh god, no kidding. Seriously.
Also, teachers, when I was like 15, 16, 17, where they're trying to tell me to play like educational games, I'm like, I literally go home and play like GTA. And you know what you do in that game? You kill hookers. Like, You really think I'm gonna want to play an educational video game?
You know,
Shit's fucked, but it's
when
true. Like, I mean,
yeah.
I'm,
Oh, it's fair. That's fair.
I'm spitting
I
facts.
played. I literally came home from computer club, and I would play Armored Core, where I would literally get into a giant robot and murder potentially hundreds of people for money. And I remember
Capitalism,
looking
baby.
back on it. I didn't realize how scuffed the setting was the first time I played it, and it wasn't until later that I went back and was like, "Wow, this is hyper dystopian." Um, literally, the opening mission is you're in a giant, like 200-foot tall, super armored death robot, which is what an armored core is. It's like Gundam's plus scale. It's almost super robot scale, but real mech. And you're like, okay, we're hiring you, mercenary, to go in and end a trade dispute, a workers' dispute. They've taken up position in this warehouse, and they emphasize just a warehouse, an empty warehouse with nothing of value in it. They just want to use the warehouse. And they're like, we're going to send you in to end negotiations. They refuse to negotiate with us, and they've armed their vehicles with weaponry. And, like, literally, it's just like cranes with a gun strapped to it. I'm in, like, a 250-foot tall, hyper-lethal, like, military-grade death robot. And you just spend the first like, mission flying through, blowing everyone up. And when I was a kid, I was like, yeah, this is a great tutorial level. Now I'm an adult, I'm like, oh my god, I'm a Pinkerton in a giant robot. I don't feel
Oh, the times have changed.
that. Oh,
I
man.
love indoctrinating children. I,
I mean,
that's a
it was
joke.
well
Twitch,
written. I
that's a
was
joke.
too young.
Okay, swear. Oh man, sound like a Roblox admin. Let's see. I should probably not talk about that either.
Fair. Fair.
There's a lot of stuff you can't talk about on the internet, especially if people are just pieces of shit. You can't even talk about pieces of shit
Too
anymore.
late. I already clipped it, sent it to the FBI. Damn. I didn't see it pop up on my mod actions. I'm sorry, I failed you.
It's all
I'm
right.
just gonna
No,
kick
it's all right.
myself now.
It's all right, Nathan. I'll remember that. Your name's Reckless Attack for a reason, right? This is a threat. No, I'm kidding. I don't know. I don't even know where I was going with that. When you get out of prison. What are they gonna put me in prison for? This is hearsay.
It's not hearsay. It's heresy.
Oh, true, true. Go on a revenge tour? That's a good idea.
So are we talking Death Proof revenge, Django Unchained revenge, or Kill Bill revenge? Because those are three very different kinds of revenge.
Kill Bill.
That's fair.
I think Kill Bill would be the most appropriate. I don't feel comfortable saying Django Unchained for obvious reasons. So like,
Right.
I'm not a person of color seeking vengeance against people that literally like screwed me over the entirety of my life.
Yeah, that's fair. That's very fair.
I still have yet to see Django Unchained. It's a movie that's
It's actually
definitely on my to watch list.
it's pretty good. It's like every Tarantino film. It's pretty good.
Yeah,
It
every Tarantino film was just it's all right.
yeah, like it's definitely. Yeah, I think he's earned his title as the king of dialogue, but he's also earned his title of the king of really seriously might need to consider like taking a course on sensitivity training or like one or two sensitivity training classes.
He's a guy, but he's of his era. You know what I mean? Like
He's of something that's all right.
he,
That's for sure.
the way he flings the N word and like everybody's cool with it, including Samuel L. Is just like, huh, okay. I guess they had like an agreement on that. Just like, I guess Samuel L. gave him like the N word pass or something. That's all I could figure.
My biggest beef with him, it's not even a big beef. It's just a weird thing. I just really didn't need to know that he had a foot fetish. Now I see it.
What do you mean? He literally has like women sticking their feet in the camera all the time. Are you telling me that isn't
I
obvious?
didn't need to explicitly know that.
Literally had the actress lady that like she wiggles her fingers or her toes in the camera and fucking Kill Bill.
No, it just bugs me now because I go back and I'm like,
How did you not realize it on your first viewing of it?
okay, I did have my suspicions, but then someone told me directly that absolutely he does, and I went back and I'm like, well, now I'm just uncomfortable.
He's been quite open about it too. That's the fucking weird thing.
I know.
Of all the things you could like on a body, particularly of a woman, feet.
You know what? I don't judge.
I
Like
don't judge
I don't.
either, but it's just weird to me. It's just like, what? Why do you find feet attractive? Was there like a synapse that was like connected when you were born, or like
I
when you were a
mean,
kid? Like,
it's I sort of understand it, but it's one of those like at the same I can understand the appeal. I guess I just what I don't understand is a director with literally millions of dollars. Well, we're talking like small countries level money here, and makes a blockbuster film and still can't help but to put softcore foot porn of their own making into a fucking movie that
dude,
nobody needs.
he's a stinking rich white guy. Of course, he's gonna put every fucking single
I
perversion that he
know,
has
but
in his
I'm
mind
not
into
a
that.
stinking rich white guy, and therefore I don't understand.
You're actually the opposite of a stinking rich white guy.
Exactly.
So
I'm a poor Hispanic guy. All I would need to be is a poor Hispanic woman, and I would be the polar opposite. I'm already nearly there.
oh man, we have
Uh,
good conversations on this show.
yes, we do.
I'm trying to think about
Come
what
for the
would.
world, stay for the chat.
True.
Or see Tarantino, yeah, give himself lines. Yeah, that's another one where it's like, yeah, it's a. If the job is to make people uncomfortable,
Doing a good job.
congratulations, you did it. But also, if you're not aware enough to understand why you making people uncomfortable isn't always good or serving in your story, like I like Quentin Tarantino's films. I also hate large portions of them.
I like some of them. I watched Kill Bill because like Elise Howell had me watch it. I was like, it's pretty. It's an okay film. I could have done without the feet and the camera, but like, uh,
Yeah.
it's like it's okay to have a fetish, but like, don't. It's the same thing with like your sexuality and stuff like that. Don't try to like force the things that you like down somebody's throat, especially if there's something that's like people
Just
aren't
don't do it
comfortable
front
with.
and center on this movie.
That's
It's not
yeah,
like
that's
the
exactly what
movie
I
is
mean.
titled My Foot Fetish. Like,
It could be.
if,
It'd be funny.
I mean, if he wanted to release an art piece like that, sure,
Sure,
whatever.
yeah, by all means, he is entitled to that. But
It's not like he wouldn't be able to drum up the money for it. I'm sure he'd be able to get it. It's like just, why are you putting it here? Why is this here? It's so awkward.
that makes me, that makes me wonder, and I'm thinking about it now. Do you think that he like bred an entirely new generation of people with foot fetishes?
I doubt it.
You,
Like,
you
I won't
sure? Are you sure?
put this
Look
out.
at Disney and furries.
Well, okay. There's a reason why that worked. And that's because Disney literally spent like a part of I don't know 30 years drawing drawing basically the idealized female figure with a mouse head, or like with whatever. Like Lola Bunny is literally just like
Well,
the
yeah, but
perfect
Lola Bunny's like
concept.
Looney Tunes, so like that's different.
Well, Black
Not
Lola.
by a large, maybe by a hair. Ah.
And that's the end of our food, folks. Have a good night.
We are getting to a point
Um,
where we're gonna call it soon, though. Don't worry.
yeah, it's like honestly, it's here's the difference. There is an immediate, obvious appeal to that kind of thing that makes sense. Like there is a reason why furries exist, and it's simple because you can feminize and humanize and anthropomorphize animals. Humans all do it, and we also find things sexually attractive or physically attractive very easily as well. There's a reason why men talk about their boats and their cars and their guns and the same thing. Why people can talk about the stuff they own and have like a weird affection towards them. You can draw that to its extreme and it's perfectly understandable. Whether you share that or not doesn't matter, but you can conceptualize it. The
Sure.
average person, it's kind of like, I'm going to take it out there. It's like cake farts. You can't like,
That is quite the reference that I did not expect from you.
I want to say vulgar.
Here we go.
But
Here's the cake farts special, folks. You know what I like
it
most?
ends there.
Cake farts.
But the idea is simple. Like you can put that on display as much as you want, but it is such a niche thing
You
And it's
fucking.
so abstract and
I
strange and
am
alien to
blown
a person.
away that you brought that up. That is like the last thing I expected you of all people to bring up. That is. Oh man, that's funny.
I'm glad I curveballed you all. I'm seeing reactions in the chat like that was the right call for the curveball.
Right call.
But
Right
like
call.
it's it's an abstract thing that like a better comparison to take it out of that wheelhouse would be like modern art. In order to appreciate modern art, you need to have a level of abstraction that implies you've already done a little work. That's why when people talk, well, that's why when you're a kid and you look at modern art, you're like, oh, this is just a fucking square, I don't get it. And when you're an adult, you're like, this abstractly represents the concept of my life being an endless pile of suffering and misery, only ended by oblivion. It is meaningfully extreme. You're like, no, you're projecting that. But your grasp of abstraction grows as you become an adult.
Okay, most of modern art's literally just tax write-offs. Let's be honest, but like.
Not for the rich, yes, but then again, it's been all art throughout literally all of history, ever.
True. Except for Italy. That.
No,
Never
even
mind.
for Italy.
No, even Italy.
Like,
Never mind. I take that back.
especially for Italy. Literally, the entirety of the Sistine Chapel is the Pope's giant concession to his at the price of thousands of coin.
Oh yeah.
But that's neither here nor there. You know,
I love it when rich
patronage
white
makes
men
art.
literally just do whatever they want with their money.
I mean, just rich. Period. Everyone did it. Everywhere on planet Earth. If you had coin, you did something with it. Usually art. You know what? Patronage isn't a bad thing.
No, not at
Ego
all.
occasionally isn't that bad. Working thousands of slaves to death to make your giant pointy monument to your own ego in the pyramids, that's pretty scuffed. Commissioning someone to make a depiction of Jesus with money that could have, that's a little bit less scuffed. With money that could have gone to the poor, that is scuffed. But that's kind of the point. Anyway, the point is to grasp that kind of thing requires a level of abstraction.
Right. Level of understanding that's beyond just surface level.
Tarantino's foot thing requires a level of abstraction that the average person doesn't immediately gravitate towards.
Unless you're like horribly perverted and fucked up. Like
just
I
like
am, I
it's your
guess.
thing already. That's the trick. If it's your thing already and you're exposed to it, then you know. And if it's not, well, you're not going to get turned on to it. Like that's how it goes.
I just don't like feet. I mean, honestly, this conversation could end and start with this. I don't like feet. I don't think they're gross. I'm not sexually attracted to them the way some people are. And that's okay. You know what? You are entitled to whatever the fuck you want. That is the great thing about being an American and being a human. Period. It's just like you're entitled to do whatever the fuck you want, just as long as you don't hurt anybody in the process. And that's also my philosophy.
Yeah, I think that's everyone's philosophy here. Or, I think that's everyone's philosophy here, chat.
Don't you agree, chat? Me puts on George Orwell's 1984. Don't you agree?
That I ride upon from up here on the high ground. Don't you agree?
My brain's so fucked right now. I looked over at chat, and Kier said, I did enjoy Bruce Willis's look at Da Vinci. I looked at it, and I thought it said, I did enjoy a look at Bruce Willis's cock. Like, because that's what I saw out of the corner of my eye, and that's how my brain read it.
No, Da Vinci. Jesus Christ.
I like Da Vinci. He's one of my favorite artists.
Yeah, I mean, Da Vinci is awesome because Da Vinci is just...
No correction, just like flat face continues. Like, okay, I can't believe Red just said that shit, but all right.
Oh god, it's almost Hudson Hawk. Oh god, yeah, no. Da Vinci is awesome because Da Vinci is very much a concept artist and also an architect and an engineer. That's his whole thing is conceptual work.
Well, yeah, and you can heavily relate with that, like.
100%, yes. That is like all of my work is just like sketching concept, and yeah, no, it's great. Also, like Da Vinci is the idealized Renaissance like figure as an artist.
Well, yeah, he is the Renaissance man. He's the literal splitting image of the Renaissance
because
man.
like everyone always thinks of the Renaissance as like, oh, beautiful depictions of people. What the Renaissance actually was deconstruction. It was them looking back at classical Roman techniques and dissecting them and finding out what made them work, which is why sketches are so important, because you don't see sketches usually. in the artistic record until the Renaissance, because that's when masters began sharing their sketchbook and treating it like the art it was. Before that, it was the thing you do to get to the end result, and you don't see many sketches. But Da Vinci always worked with sketches, and it's an important thing for an artist to see that you don't just crap out the Sistine Chapel from nothing. You don't build flying devices spontaneously. There's a process that occurs. And Da Vinci laid that naked in front of the world in an era where depicting anything but perfection would be considered, damning. And as a result, he helped transform the whole movement. It's a big deal. Art history is kind of a shit.
Art history is crazy.
It is. It is literally it is the study of cycles. If anyone wants to know art history in a nutshell, I'll just break it down for you. We find a cool thing, we do the cool thing. We get tired of the cool thing, someone deconstructs the cool thing. We get really tired of the cool thing, we move on to a new thing. That is all of art history ever. Period. I just summarized all of human history's art for you.
Exactly. That's why styles repeat themselves. That's why you see people like, oh, nobody's worn that since the 70s, and people are wearing it again. It's just like,
yeah, bell-bottom jeans are back in, folks.
I've literally been thinking about getting a pair of bell-bottoms just because I think they look cool.
Yeah, literally Critical Role in the last season, the whole aesthetic was like, it was basically Stranger Things, like the intro for them, and it worked because, turns out people long for a prior era, especially during times of crisis.
Especially when you're like me and you weren't born at that time.
Yeah, the 90s weren't as great as everyone makes them out to be, but they did have some sick-ass music in the 90s.
Dude, like, when I think 90s aesthetic, I, like, my first thought in my head is just like, that shit's ugly as fuck. I'm gonna be completely honest. Like, everything about the 90s is just uglier 80s. I just offended, like, everybody in the chat, sorry.
No, you're actually right.
I'm 100% right. Are you telling me that, like, fucking suspenders, or not suspenders, but, like, overalls and stuff like that are, like, attractive? Especially the way that people wore them in the 90s? It's ugly as shit.
Yeah. I'm an 80s child, that's fair.
I grew up in the early 2000s, so you can imagine how what I think's good looking, and it's definitely not frosted tips and ripped jeans. That's weird to think about. People are like, oh, the 2000s didn't have a style the way that the 90s and the 70s and the 80s did. I'm like, yes, it did.
Definitely did.
Very much had an aesthetic.
Yeah.
It's just not as... the early 2000s wasn't as clear as the 90s aesthetic was, because the early 2000s was like, yeah, we're coming down off of 90s aesthetic. Like, that's...
It's just jealous of our slap bracelets. Okay, slap bracelets were pretty fun.
Those things are fucking stupid. I'm sorry. I fucking hated them when I was a kid, and I hate them now.
I will admit, I like them. I understand the appeal. They pinch me, though. My arm's too reedy. I get pinch.
You get the pinch? I don't like it, the pinch.
Project Montreal. Yeah.
Project. Hey, look.
Yo, that's fair. Like, okay,
I'm entitled to my opinions. This is you're entitled to your shitty ones.
I can't remember who said it, but it was I remember someone I used to know used to always say, what is it? It's
opinions are like assholes. Everybody has one.
That one's a good one. It was I'm entitled to my opinion. You're entitled to be wrong. I was like, okay.
Amen.
That's not how. Yeah.
That's how it works. That's exactly how it works.
Not a good way to start dialogue, but it is, I guess, a backhanded way of being magnanimous.
I mean, my politics aren't completely left. My politics aren't right either. It's just like, I have my opinions. Everybody has their opinions. It's okay to have your opinions. You know what makes us human? It makes us American. Well, what should make us American is agreeing to disagree. And not sitting down to fucking Thanksgiving and being like, I hate you, you liberal bastard. It's just like, okay.
And you know what makes me human? Nothing, because I'm actually a
You're
robot
you're
man.
yeah, you're our
Don't
favorite robot American.
crack on me. Yeah. Don't put your human fallacies on me.
Fallacy. Every child peace.
That's a big $10 word.
Fallacy is a good word.
But when I want your opinion, I'll ask someone else. I love that.
That's a good one, actually. I think it's turned out good. Honestly, this big icy plateau.
I think it looks good. Yeah, I think you've done a lot of work on it. Man. It looks good.
Oh man, we'll take a break for there for right now. Honestly, got placeholder
Yeah.
cities and shit like that, but this is it has the vibe I want it to. You know, it's turning out good
Yeah.
in that regard. Isometric kind of vibe, but
I like it, man. I'm gonna have to mimic that style when I eventually do the map of glass wall.
oh Lord. You don't need to mimic my style. Styles can be derivative of cultures and
No, I
nations.
know, but I actually really liked that kind of like etched map scale. Like the it's very Lord of the Ringsian. I like that a lot.
Very into this. Okay, we could do another one of these like next Wednesday if you guys like the map making streams. I mean, we're literally just talking. We didn't really talk much about the world, but that's okay. That's what Thursday streams are for, right? So
Yeah,
and
this is a chip off the block. You're here because you guys really like writer's block, and you were like, hey, we want more of these two being doofuses, talking about what happened last episode, and then whatever else pops into their heads. So
I didn't expect to do a stream this long. I was just like, well, we'll go for an hour, and then I'm at 3. Anyway, so thank you folks for coming by. I want to point out my advertisements real quick. I got Curse of Strahd, Rise of Alma. That is DM Studios. You probably already follow them because they're fucking cool and they're a really great mutual of mine. And yeah, so definitely check that out if you guys have time. That's Tuesdays at midnight Central Standard Time. And my other one is obviously also incredibly personally biased. That is Van Helsing Art. That is my significant other's art handle on Twitter. She is currently closed for commissions, but be sure to get on the wait list. I highly recommend that if you need something like for a book, sort of sketch it out. She's the way to go. She's probably one of the less pricey routes you can go for getting something licensed for a book. Or any sort of supplement that you're putting out. Doesn't ask for royalties, just has a one-time payment. And she told me that she didn't want to do smaller things like character art unless it's worth her time, because she's taking on real big fish now, and I'm really proud of her. So if you guys have something you need illustrated for a book, she's the person to go to. But besides that, let's introduce ourselves on the way out. Ami, go ahead, man.
hey everyone, I am the last on the tech, your favorite robot American. You all know me on this channel on both Writer's Block and Chip Off the Block, as well as also on DM's Saturday streams, both for his Hobbit Syndicate and I always mess with the name, Hobbit Syndicate, and also on Red's Bebop and the Big Easy campaign on there as well. You also probably know me from Twitter. I'm same, the last on the tech. And I work on my tabletop role-playing game setting, Legacy, Storytelling the World Tomorrow. Been doing it for months, years. We're on year 16 now. Impossible as it is to believe.
Yeesh.
And I am working on finishing a demo of that and running it on stream eventually. Likewise, I'm currently working on a Caltrop Core version of AS that should be done this week for real. I shall release that. And also, I'm going to be doing a couple of streams coming up soon on my own channel, which is The Last on the Tech on Twitch. So keep an eye out, folks. I'll be doing like the Wednesdays and Saturdays in the mornings. So we'll see how that goes. And that's me, Chief.
Hell yeah, man. Hi folks, I'm Red, as you know. Thank you for coming by and hanging out with us for a session that went on longer than we usually do. But regardless, I'm at VA Redemption on Twitter. I am currently almost done. I'm pulling it on me. I'm almost done with my book. But hopefully that should be out soonish. Probably like, I'd imagine early, mid-February is when that's going to sort of be in the works and out. I'm at the tail end of editing, probably going to do a few more line edits just to make sure I didn't miss anything. But on Derek's channel, on DM Studios, I'm going to be doing another Call of Cthulhu campaign thing. It's not going to be Bebop and the Big Easy. It's going to take place here in AS, the campaign setting that we've been working on. Campaign setting, quote unquote. It's just a setting, period. We're going to be doing that on Saturdays from here on, but Covet Syndicate is going to be this Saturday at 6:30 p.m. CST, so don't miss that. But the Saturday after that, we're going to hop into AIS, and we're going to finally show off some of the fruits of our labor. And thank you all again for coming by. If you have any questions or anything like that, or if you'd like to maybe even be on the show or be a part of the show, don't be afraid to DM me on Discord or Twitter, depending on which one you got. If you really, really like the show, consider subscribing, because all that money is going right back into equipment and ways to sort of pay my guests eventually. So thank you. Have a great night as well, Kira. Thank you. So good night, everybody. I appreciate you.
Take care, folks. Keep writing.